Here we go. Guys, let me know how the audio is. I use Streamlabs OBS, and, we were doing some great Twitch streams this week, so I don't know if you guys got a chance. A little quick plug here. Go over and check out twitch.tv. Mooch TV drops the O's for zeros. We had a great showing on Death Stranding on Tuesday night. We did a 3.5 hour stream of the game. It was fantastic. Great audience. Great everybody going over there. Appreciate all the support. Seeing the numbers going up over there. Even as the show on CrossFire goes live, I end up seeing sometimes the phone going off. Being like, these people subscribe to Twitch. It's great. It's great. So I do want to say amazing panel tonight. Shout out again. I want to give a proper shout out. Some of the great intro screens, Be Right Back, outro screens you're seeing done by the great Lazy. Shout out to Lazy. Great friends with Blaze 4K. Shout out to Blaze as well. Just some great people in the community to help people grow their channel, and they love watching the content, and I love providing that content. So I want to say thanks to those guys again. We got a great show for you. I hope the audio is great. Let me know, guys. I got my audio engineers. I'm sure Eric, the producer, I'm sure is in the audience. Shout out to Nelson Gaming, too. Nelson here? Where's Nelson? I just got something on X. Where are you, Mooch? It was 7:03. I have a very impatient audience, which I love. It really is. Shout out to everyone that's here. Guys, please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Your name comes up in lights. If you want to become part of the Mooch Maniac family members, just hit that join button. You can do the same. But like I say, we are going to be doing Twitch streaming all weekend over there on Mooch TV as well. So please go over at some point tonight and follow us over there. Nonetheless, what a great panel we have for you. I'm going to we're going to start off on some of the news, and we only have crap for so long, so I'm going to let crap do his rant at the end here. Shout out to the great WoolleyGamer. Wooly, you wrote me last week and you said, Mooch, if you got some space on the panel, I'd love to be on. We had like 8 or 9 people last week, if I remember right. It was a lot of people on and off the show. So I said, Wooly, if you don't mind, I'd love to get you on the show next week because, well, let's just be honest. You've been ranting and raving about Death Stranding 2 for the longest time. Now, Wooly, listen, I have to say this. No spoilers. We can't have spoilers.
Bro, don't worry. I won't spoil anything. Honestly, I'm not even that far into the game. I'm just at the part where Sam kills Fragile.
Oh, come on.
I'm joking.
Great.
I'm coming after you. That happened.
I had angry DMs from people I know, and I'm like, "What are you coming at me for? I'm not Wooly." And they're like, "Oh, tell your mate he's spoiling it for me."
I got yelled at so much.
Hey, I did a video where I mentioned something about Metal Gear Solid 2, and this is 20 years after the fact, and I mentioned it was kind of a swerve because you're not actually playing as Snake through that. And somebody left a comment, "Thanks for the spoilers," and I was like, "Dude, that shit is 20 plus years old. There's an end to spoiler content. You know what I mean?
Funny.
Like, geez."
It's not even funny. I was in this. It was about 2022. It was like at least 3 years, maybe 2023, 3 or 4 years after Death Stranding release. And I let slip that Lou is a girl. And people were like, "Wooly, you've ruined it again." I'm like, come on, guys. It's been nearly 4 years. You've got no excuses at this point. Like, my days, man. But all I'll say, Mooch, is it's great to be here. And honestly, Death Stranding 2 is my Red Dead Redemption 2. It's all I need. It's absolute just.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Wooly, we're going to talk about it. It's one of the main topics tonight. I do want to talk about it. Again, guys, no spoilers tonight. I'm only about, 3.5 hours in, and I'll tell you, there's no spoilers to give, but just everything that Wooly's been preaching. I'll give you credit here, Wooly. Everything you've been preaching for the past 6 months about your hype for this game. You've been doing it longer than that, but on the show, it's really come to fruition. So, Wooly, we'll get to that, and you'll be the first to discuss it.
It's paying off.
It really is paying off. It's nice to rant and rave about something and then be right, which we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of subjects like that.
I couldn't overstate it. I could not overstate this game. And it in every sense of the word, it's delivered more than the hype that I could assign it, to be honest.
It really has.
I'm blown away.
It really has, and I can't wait to hear your take on it. Great to have you here, Wooly, with us. The Great Gaming Grindhouse. You guys know him as Jez7780. And we got Jez at the beginning of the show. Jez says, Mooch, I got a little time I can come and hang out with you. What Jez doesn't realize is he can't leave. Jez, I got to tell you, I don't know. Yeah, unfortunately, Jez, I got to be honest with you. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, buddy. You do the Gaming Grindhouse on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then every single time I pick up my phone, every single night, 7:30, maybe you take a night off here or there, but like you're literally almost every night, you're like, should I open the Gaming Grindhouse doors? And I'm like, how does this man do this? I stream once a week. I do one show. I'm beat. I'm just exhausted. But Jez, great to have you, buddy. We got a lot to talk about. How you doing this evening?
Hey man, I'm doing great, man. And yeah, it's it's just one of those things. I'm like, should I do it? I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then once I hit that on button, I'm live. It's showtime, man. The time just goes by, and the chat's great, and the interaction's great. But yeah, dude, and yeah, I been playing Death Stranding too. I've been playing a rematch. It's incredible. That Death Stranding 2, man. And what's funny is that I waited. Death Stranding 1, it took me a while to beat it. Like I just finished it about a couple of months ago in preparation for this one, because I kept chipping away at it, and man, what a payoff to play this one. And they have done such a great job. I'm about 2 hours in to it, and
it's great.
It's already like incredible how they addressed a lot of the things that the first game didn't do at first, especially in the beginning of the game,
away,
which right away, like, and it's just such and it looks incredible. Like I have to stop. They know me about photo mode, man. I'm addicted to photo mode. I get so pissed that they got rid of the whole the Twitter X integration.
Yes,
man. Because I'm just like, this
it's the worst thing that Sony have done is that I'm so upset
I know
about.
I hate that stuff, but like you're doing on the phone and putting up there, I just love sharing it right from the screen, especially with the photo mode they got. It's really awesome. And I've been doing a lot of game and grind. So basically I've been doing live streams, I played a lot of Gears, and just basically it's like I kind of like talk about topics while I play games, and while the some of the grinders come in, and we do like multiplayer matches and stuff, game nights. So been doing that too. But yeah, I've been doing as much live as I can, man. It's a lot of work, but I enjoy doing it. But thank you again for the invite.
Always, Jez. And I'll tell you, people really don't realize it. It's taxing. It's taxing. It's a lot if you're trying to be entertaining, also talk to your audience, keep your audience engaged, and pay attention to the game. I do want to say shout out to Matty Beast. Matty Beast is here. Matty Beast has known me and Crap for probably the better part of 10 years. And Matty Beast sends me a message on Tuesday night, early access Death Stranding launches. And he says, I'm paraphrasing. It basically says, Mooch, this is why I game. And it's that excitement, that launch. And, it's one of the things that I always said about, like, that kind of changed a little bit with the Game Pass, for example. Like, Game Pass, people say, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it. But, like, when you buy a game and it launches and it's 12:01 a.m. Eastern time, and you're just like, I'm going to play this game, and you see all these people light up your, Twitter now.
Friends list, it lights up.
The friends list lights up. It's just riveting. It's a phenomenal feeling. That never gets old. It's the closest thing to the midnight releases we have these days. So shout out to Matty Beast. Appreciate that. Seeing the Floyd is out there and some great folks. The great Death Singer is with us as well. Death Singer been on fire on X, by the way. Great conversations going back and forth, especially the ones with you and J-Dub. The J-Dub couldn't make it tonight, Death Singer. I thought that would have been great. But Death Singer also letting us know where those Steam sales are popping up. But Death Singer, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Steam's got me. They got me tied in the basement, and they've stolen my credit card and buying all the games. And it is what it is. Like, it happens every year, and every year I go, I'm not going to buy anything, and every year I buy something. It's just one of those things, right? It will just and everyone on Steam does it, because if you look at people, they have like 1,000+ games on there. And I guarantee you they ain't played like 40% of them, because you buy them.
That's literally my PlayStation library. I have over 1,000 games, bro. It's ridiculous. I just can't, because when there's those sales, those deep sales, 80% off, you have to cop. You don't have choice.
You do. You're just tempted to buy them. And even a game you're like, well, I was tempted to do that. These games, if they range anywhere between 5 and 15, it almost seems like an insta buy. You know what I mean? You just got to pick it up. And some of the bigger games that are $70 are now on sale for $40, $45, $55. So yeah, it's very tempting out there. Dessinger, I appreciate that. The man who needs no introduction himself, Nib. Nib can take a 2-hour podcast and stretch that right into about 3.5, 4 hours easily. He does what he does on X on the air, and I love it. Nib, great to have you, buddy. How you doing this morning for you?
Yeah, really good. I have not played as much Death Stranding as I wanted, just because the wife, she's going away for the weekend. But when she said, look, I'm going away for the weekend, so you got to pay me some attention, I was like, I get the whole weekend free? I was like, let me get you food, let me chill, let's just then I've got the whole weekend, and I'm gonna be one of those like bums where I'm not even
That's
gonna
awesome.
go to the restaurant.
That's awesome, dude. You're just going to be gaming nonstop.
Buy
Literally.
some adult nappies, Nib. Buy some adult
Oh, for
nappies.
real.
Or diapers,
No.
as they call them in
I'm gonna
America.
say this quietly just in case she's still awake, but I've literally already got extra part timers to cover for me. So I'm like, no work for the boss this weekend.
You know what that means? Tonight's going to go to at least midnight here in New York. Nib, great to have you with us. And last but certainly not least, the great Crap Gamer. Crap, normally you're the one doing a few laps around Madison Square Garden before we go live here, but I actually was running a bit late, so it was very comforting to walk in and see the great Crap Gamer there in the room ready to go. One of the greatest podcasters, Crap.
Mooch?
Right? Where's he? It's his show.
I was like, where's Mooch, man? He's usually here on time or whatever. I was like, it was like me and Wooly in there. I was like, I don't know, man. There's usually like 4 or 5 people here. It's getting harder and harder to find people to do podcasts with, man.
It's not easy.
I get it. You know what I mean? It's just like people want a game.
Yeah.
That was always a problem back in the day. We'd be like doing a podcast and you could tell somebody was like playing a game and they weren't really there, and that kind of defeats some of the purpose.
They were like, crap. They were like, repeat the question again.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you. What was that? Remember? You were like, oh, you're not even paying attention to the podcast.
Yeah, you're not paying attention, whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's been an interesting week because, Microsoft came out and did some of the announcements that they did. I think what they do, like the AMD announcement, and then, also it came out that there's going to be like layoffs and stuff. The thing on X, right? Like, or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Like, I seen a lot of people on there today, and it was kind of frustrating because everybody's like freaking out that this Windows launcher launches another launcher, right? And you can play a PlayStation game. So it's like a launcher launches a launcher of a PC. So it's like a PC launches a PC launcher to play a PC game. And people were freaking out about this. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm like, dude, you guys could have bought a PC at any time in the last few years and played these PlayStation games on a PC. That's what they're doing.
That's right.
Right? Just because they label slap Xbox on there doesn't mean that that's an Xbox. And it's the same thing with this VR thing, right? It's like, you can't play VR on an Xbox. Just because they called that a meta whatever it is, that's not an Xbox VR headset.
It's not.
You know what I mean? It's like that's the frustrating part is like, for me, it's like, you're standing at a line and you're trying to say, well, don't pass this line because I'm not going to be a happy consumer then. And I stayed put. And I'm trying to fight that. And so many other people were just like, okay, well, we'll let the games go to PC. No big deal. Okay, well, we'll let them go over here. No big deal. Okay, well, we'll let them go to PlayStation. No big deal. Okay, well, we don't want to even have it. If it's just a PC with the Xbox logo, that's fine. Who really cares?
It doesn't matter.
It's like, they let this company walk all over them. And I don't understand that thought process whatsoever, because it's like, haven't you guys noticed? Like, I know there's some good games out there and stuff, but somewhat lack of excitement and lack of kind of competition. To me, it seems like it's hurting things overall, like the general excitement for like the console gaming and stuff overall. I mean, there's good stuff to be excited about for sure. Death Stranding 2, like, I got to Switch 2, whatever, cool stuff. But it's like, without that competition from the big three, it just doesn't feel the same to me, you know? And like, I mean, it could just be a me thing. I don't know. But it's like, once that stuff started to happen, it's just, I knew it was going to kind of fade away like that. And then who knew, like Microsoft, right? Like, I originally thought they would get Activision and keep them multi-plat, and that would fund the Xbox exclusives. Right. And that's what I thought. I was like, okay, cool. Because they've already said the Bethesda stuff is all going to be exclusive. They just bought these other companies and they're going to be making exclusive. That's fine. I understand that you have this big turning wheel that does the biggest game of the year every year. Keep that exclusive. Keep those games. Just keep the money going in.
Right.
So you can do it. But they didn't do that. And I always tell people, because they try to give Phil Spencer off the hook. They go, well, Phil's got bosses. And I'm like, Phil Spencer was named the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. Admittedly, the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, knows nothing about gaming.
Right.
So why would he dictate anything, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, he would trust the guy that he put in charge of gaming. The stuff that Phil is doing is Phil. Right? Like, I mean, it is. Like, you don't, and people go, oh, well, that was before they spent all this money. Like, you don't think the bean counters and stuff said, hey, Phil, if we buy this company, we're going to have to, there was probably all these plans already in place, or whatever the case may be, of the repercussions that could potentially happen. Because when you're a corporation like that, you have these contingency plans, right? So he had to know, hey, we're going to have the eye of Microsoft on us. we're gonna have to do this, we're gonna have to do that, and so I don't believe that this is like these moves are Satya Nadella or Amy Hood. This is all Phil Spencer. If you go back to 2014, 15, 16, when I got into a confrontation with him when he was putting stuff on PC, he says we don't want walled gardens.
Right.
Right. He said it back then.
Yeah.
Right? Like, these are his choices. He's the one that decided to buy ZeniMax. He's the one that decided to buy Activision. These are Phil Spencer choices. And he's the one that really doesn't want, there to be anything exclusive to Xbox. But it's like, when you see stuff like this as an Xbox fan, I get so frustrated because I feel like a beta tester a lot of the time, like the Hellblade 2 situation.
Yeah.
We were flat out told that's a design choice. It's going to stay 30 frames. It's cinematic, blah, blah, blah. We can't do 60 frames. And then what do? Oh, well, it's coming to PlayStation at 60 frames. It's like, are you serious? And this isn't the first time that's happened. There's been multiple games where they've announced it for PlayStation, and all of a sudden they can do higher frames, and it has all this extra content. If that content was ready before, release it on Xbox first.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand the thought process of making Xbox owners feel like shit. And you know what I'm saying? It's like this company, Mooch, is the exact opposite of what they were when we were early on, into Xbox One and stuff. Like, this was a company, like, that company was like, they'd hop on your podcast, they'd interact with you on social media. They felt like, hey, we're the underdog, and, we're doing this, we're trying to, what do you guys want to see? Wait, we got this big show, blah, blah, blah. It was like, and now it's like they don't talk to anybody, they don't do anything. They make these, they're trying to transition people over to like PC gamers, like you got to accept what we want, or, the highway, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And it's because if you look at it, they've got a lot of people like me who have most of us have large digital libraries. So they're like, these people aren't going anywhere no matter what we do. And in some cases, that's probably true, right? But in some cases, it's probably not true. And I can't imagine what they're thinking, or, they're pulling out of places like in Europe, like I don't understand that thought process. Okay, they're like, okay, so they're only going to sell Xbox in North America and UK. How long are developers going to support something like that, right? Where there's not a hefty install base, and it's like even now, if you have 25, 28 million Xbox owners, developers see a need, they'll support that. So it's Microsoft. You're not going to burn your bridges. What happens when the next Xbox releases, or whatever the case may be, and that thing sells worse than the Wii U? How long are developers going to support that? How long are they going to bother with an Xbox version or optimizing it? We see some of the bad optimizations already, and so like none of this stuff. If you're an Xbox fan, how can you look at what's going on outside of the games? Because I'll give you that, right? They're finally releasing some decent games. But how can you look at everything that's going on? Thousands and thousands of layoffs. I get it. Sony lays people off.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Holy shit.
Well, the thing is,
they're
though,
about
crap,
to lay
you
off
say
another 2,000 people.
Yeah,
and close possibly Turn 10. Turn 10.
That's what I was going to say. It's the studios that we're worried about.
They used to be one of the top studios. They made, like, I love Forza Motorsport, like 3 and 4 on the 360 was it, man. That's what really got me into like the racing games, And then I think 4 launched with the Xbox One. It was kind of bare bones, but then they did 5 and 6 and 7, and they were really pretty good.
5. Was it 4 that
launched? Yeah,
5. It was 5.
5 launched on the Xbox One. Yeah, and it was kind of bare bones. But 6 and 7 were really good, and then they take 5 years and drop the new one, and it was worse. It was like somehow less content and less features, and now I heard it's pretty good, but I'm not bothering with it anymore because it's like you should have been like that when you launched it. You had 5 years to get this shit right. You know what I mean? Like, why do we got to wait years to get games to be right to enjoy them? Like when you launch these games, you should be able to play them and enjoy them, and the features and things that were promised should be there. So, it's unfortunate that that's kind of come through, and just as a fan, I just feel kind of lost with this stuff because the way that Microsoft is acting, I can't see them sticking around. And even if they do a PC with the Xbox logo, that's already quitting. Like, I know people are cheering that and cheering Steam for some reason, which again, I'm shaking my head. Microsoft, by all accounts, Microsoft sees Steam as their biggest threat right now. Why would they allow Steam on their console?
Right.
Right. Like,
right.
I don't get that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it really doesn't make sense to me. I think there could be, like, how they renamed it Xbox PC? I think they could be releasing, maybe they release a traditional console. I don't know. But I think they'll probably release an Xbox branded PC too. Right? Like, who knows what they can do? Maybe. I don't know. It's like, but they don't really talk to the people. They don't keep anybody informed. They raise the prices of their platform. 5 years in, I've never seen anything like that before in my life.
Yeah.
right? It's like they literally don't care about their own platform.
They're
And,
cashing up shop. They're cashing up shop. They've stopped producing the consoles, haven't they? And so
I think they have. I think
the prices
they
to maximize the ROI to try and make some kind of profit off of them. But I was saying this on Twitter, and people just weren't getting it. People were like, Microsoft, they're going to make money off their first party games on multiplats. But you need to recognize that's like 2 titles a year selling a couple of million at most. That's pennies to Microsoft. Like, what makes you think that Microsoft would want to maintain all the laborious effort of being a platform holder if there isn't an end game to making big revenue? And we've established Game Pass isn't that big, huge revenue maker. It's not that big profit maker, rather, because of the expenditure that goes out at the same time. And so what have they got? They need their storefront to be effectively monetized, and they can't do that if they are facilitating a direct detractor from their storefront, which is Steam. And they're facilitating Steam. So it's like Identity Crisis 101. What the hell do you want to do? Because you don't have a clue what you want to do. You're trying to be have your identity as on everything everywhere, right? But then you're nowhere. It's like trying to fit in with everybody. You end up
you know what it is, Wooly. I think what it is and a lot of us that are on the panel, and a lot of people in the audience and listening later, like a lot of us are in the gaming community on X, right? So we're kind of seeing both sides here. But the part that's very confusing is you have a very strong other side that's fighting for Xbox on X, and I get it, right? They love Xbox, and I get that. I still love Xbox games, but the point of the matter is right now, Xbox is not the traditional sense. I've said this a million times on the show. I'll say it again. Xbox is going to be a phenomenal publisher. Where the lines get kind of blurry here is there's still a lot of people pushing online, right? There's a lot of people pushing online that Xbox is still in the traditional sense. The thing is Xbox is the same. When you say, Wooly, they're everywhere, but they're nowhere. The thing is that's not necessarily true. And I'm not ridiculing your point. I'm saying to you that EA is everywhere. Ubisoft is everywhere. Xbox is that essentially right now. When Xbox comes out and does these things and they're like, we're going to be there for the console gamer. We're going to be there for that. And they do that during the Xbox showcase. That's where it's kind of, it blurs the lines. And the
problem with EA.
And it causes a lot of controversy, but it's unnecessary controversy because Xbox is legitimately the same as EA right now. Their games are on Steam. Their games are on PlayStation.
They're the same as a publisher.
Right.
But they're a platform holder. And they're trying to establish themselves still as a platform holder. They're releasing Xbox branded consoles, that they call them. And they've got a future roadmap for Xbox gamers. Mm-hmm. EA doesn't do that. And EA is quite happy with the sales of their games, selling a few million a year, and they publish a lot of games, and they co-publish and co-develop, and they are quite happy with that level of revenue. But Xbox is a different level to EA, and it always has been until now. And that's my point. Like, people think they're quite content being like EA, but that it doesn't make a lot of sense. EA wouldn't put all that expenditure into hardware if they're just making money off purely their own games and don't have a storefront to maximize the return on investment, to maximize revenue through 30% of third-party sales.
Right.
Like that's all I'm getting at. Is like, it doesn't make sense.
I hear you. So I want to just
like Crap was saying.
I just want to make a quick notion here. Shout out to Snowdragon. Snowdragon in the chat. He's a big Xbox fan. Snowdragon's like, I'm going to record how many times we say Xbox. Snowdragon, it's literally one of the biggest news events of this week. Everybody's covering it. Every single outlet is covering it. Every company right now that you listen to. I love how people come here. They're like, you can't say that. Then he'll go listen to 5 other podcasts and they'll be like, Xbox. And it's like, come on. Like, That's the most ridiculous thing to say, Snowdragon. Like, yes, it is a topic of the week. It's a news topic of the week. Every one of your favorite Xbox channels are also going to be talking about this. It is a thing that is a big deal. And for me personally, I don't think the layoffs are unfortunate and they're sad. The part that really bothered me about this one, opposed to the others where it said Microsoft is letting this many people go, but they were kind of masking it. And they said, well, some Xbox will be affected. This one seems to be a big hit to the Xbox division, and it happens to be hitting possibly a lot of the studios. And that's the part that I thought was more interesting in this week's news. It wasn't just the layoffs. Like you said, Sony, crap said this. PlayStation has layoffs. EA has layoffs. Take-Two has layoffs. They all do. So, it's just, Capone goes, you gave him attention. No, Snowdragon I've known for a long time. He's fine. It's just that you have to be fair here. You can't come here and say, well, you guys can't talk about the news. You know what I mean? It's in the news. It's everywhere. And it's unfortunate. And to be honest with you, Crap made a good point. Turn 10. I mean, Turn 10 is one of the teams that me and Crap used to say all the time over the years is the one thing you can count on is Turn 10 putting out a triple A, quadruple A, right, type of experience and quality product. So if things
don't realize this, but they help co-develop the Horizon series. Like they are on the, they help co-develop that. So it's like people don't realize how bad this is. It's like, hey,
and also hearing it this early, like now how it's like how it leaked out, kind of like about the managers of Xbox said that they're going to be. I'm worried about some studios. Like I'm worried about studios that like in between projects that just released the game. So the situation that what was it? What was it? The Hi-Fi Rush developer was it? You just drop a game and now you can Tango projects so you can get approved.
The thing
Tango
is,
Game Works.
I literally. It's weird because people always tell me, why do you care about sales? Why do you care about sales? And I'm like, do you want to be an informed or uninformed consumer?
Right.
And I literally put out a tweet a few months ago. I said, I think Turn 10 could be the next on the chopping block because of these reasons. And I put out the data. Like maybe they could be downsized. Maybe they could. I didn't think they would necessarily close the studio because it has such pedigree. But like, I literally went through the data and why this could be, and it was exactly the same bloody thing with Hi-Fi Rush, because with Hi-Fi Rush, it did not chart in GSD or Sakana in its launch month, nor did it chart in the second month, nor did it chart any other month after that. And if it doesn't chart in the top 20, you already can conclude that it didn't sell well, because a brand new game that had 1,426 people credited to its development over 5 years, like not even hitting the top 20, that's going to be a costly issue. And then with Forza Motorsport, we found out that GSD, it was for the entire year, it was, I've got the data here, number 463 on the European sales chart. And if you know about European taste, we are very, very heavy into racers. We're more into racers than the United States. So Gran Turismo, Formula One, all the rally games, all the crew, I think with the exception of Burnout back in the day, but pretty much all the racers, the crew as well, the Crew Motorfest sells better in Europe, much stronger in Europe, in fact. So the fact that Forza Motorsport was number 463 in the annual GSD, this isn't an estimate, by the way, GSD is real data from the publishers, was catastrophic. I was like, how is that even possible? And for context, like GT7 was, for the whole year, was 13th, and charted in the top 5 multiple times. So, again, it was just crazy, and similar with Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah.
And I just think with these kind of things, it's like sometimes like when we talk about the data and we talk about, Activision, ABK, or this revenue, this loss, and they're losing player numbers. And people just say, oh, you're always negative about Xbox. But it's like, we're just relaying the facts.
Yeah.
We're just relaying the reality. And look what happens. Like we talk about something months ago, and then it comes to fruition months later, or a month later. In Hi-Fi Rush case, it was a few weeks later, I think, which was awful. But I did want to say, even to like I share Crap's sentiment. I will say, Mooch, again, if you go back to your podcast, I think it was 2.5 months ago, and we spoke about whether, would they block the games or not. And I remember me, Erica, and one other person, I can't remember who it was, we said we don't think they will block it,
Right.
Because we don't think PlayStation really sees Xbox as that kind of competition anymore.
Right.
They're literally releasing all their games on PlayStation, etc. And lo and behold, now, on this Xbox app, you're able to launch PlayStation games via Steam. And I do think, like, for me, it's weird. Like, if people want to be excited about that, no, I have no issue.
Yeah,
with that.
go ahead. That's right.
Whatever the hell you want to be excited about. It is so confusing to me though, because it's like, if Steam was bad, if the app and if the process of using it and launching games or whatever was not a polished one, then I could understand, like, oh yes, we need to launch games from one app from another app. Because if the other app was rubbish, I could see that. But Steam is like amazing.
Like the Epic Game Store.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
like,
Steam is amazing to use. So
it needs a better interface. Yeah.
So we're celebrating the fact that you can launch PlayStation games that you could already launch from the Steam app, but instead you launch it in an Xbox app. And I'm like, is this how, like, where it's come for Xbox now? Where
that's where we
these
are.
are the kind of things.
Yeah,
literally, this is where we are. Where it's scraping not even the bottom of the barrel. It's like the mud on the ground. Like, this is what these people are celebrating now.
Yeah.
Like, and I know what it is. Like, we're playing PlayStation games on our Xbox. No, you're playing them on your PC, which you could have already done for the last several years. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm in Twilight Zone sometimes with the shit I see on X. And that's fine. Like, if they've got nothing else to sort of celebrate or whatever, and they have to celebrate that, cool. If it makes you happy, do it.
Absolutely.
But I think they don't realize that most people probably look at that and laugh at them. Like, and I know in their little echo chamber, I know in their echo chamber, they're like, ha, yes, yeah, and they think that it's a good and strong argument. But I'm pretty confident Nintendo and PlayStation fans, so to speak, look at that kind of stuff with pity. It's like, really? Like, that's what you're saying.
So I just want to give my
I'll
take
be able to
on
play PC games on my PC. It's like, next year I'll be able to play PC games on my PC. It's like, go figure. Yeah, it's a PC.
Right.
Well, I just want to get my thoughts on that PC app. Like, the thing is that I feel that what they're trying to do is they want this app to kind of take over when you first boot up the Windows on certain devices. Specifically, they're targeting handhelds. So this will be sort of the front end. The app will kind of take over in the beginning and just kind of be like, have priority and maybe limit some tasks. That's still the question as to how effective the Windows team is going to let this app remove processes, because Windows boots up processes, processes, AI, it's doing your rewind, all these processes that Windows does with the fluff that it has. How effective is this app going to be in minimizing those processes to improve the performance? The thing is that since Windows 10, there has been an Xbox gaming mode, which has been on by default, which limits notifications, Windows updates during gaming, but it really hasn't removed any process. You still hit Control-Alt-Delete and see tons of processes running in the background. But what Microsoft wants to do is take this app and be on the front, the first thing that you see. Well, the thing is that what happens to those other storefronts that are on this open platform called Windows, such as Steam, Epic, GOG, all these other storefronts? They're like, well, wait a second, Microsoft, what are you just putting this in front? Like, this is the only gaming available on this device. Meanwhile, our stores are in the background. And if you remember, Microsoft got in trouble with that years ago with Internet Explorer, like forcing their stuff first and putting their open platform participants in the background and kind of pushing their stuff. So by allowing Steam and all them to launch those games from there, I think that's the way they kind of get past the whole, we're the front end on the front app and we're the only place to buy games, the only place to play games. They're going to have to do that with those other storefronts. And basically what it's doing is that it's giving the launch capabilities, basically like a desktop, to launch those other games that are only installed on your computer, which is a key point. When I saw Tom Warren doing it, it's that it's only installed games. So you still have to go to those storefronts such as Steam, Epic, log in, download the games from those stores, and then once it's installed, then the Windows app, the Xbox app, will see it to launch from it. The thing is that there's better programs out there. Play Night, actually, you can integrate your account with it, and it'll show all the games that you own. However, it's just a front end because you still need to go to those other applications. And the last example is the Ubisoft. Ubisoft just announced about a month ago that you could buy their games from the Xbox app or the Xbox Marketplace on PC. However, if you buy it from there, you still need to download Ubisoft Connect and have it verify the DRM from them, even though you bought it from Xbox. In addition, none of those games have achievements, and some of them don't even have cross saves because they're not Play Anywhere. So it really brings everything together, but it's still very dynamic.
It sounds
that those Steam games don't have achievements. They don't have cross saves.
And I'll let that singer speak right after this. Jez, that sounds a lot like, and I think one of you chimed in already. If you guys have Apple TV, I have a lot of things linked to Apple TV. But when you go to click on like something, or you go to look for a show, it'll bring you. So if you look for something and it's on Hulu, it'll bring you to Hulu. Disney Plus, it'll bring you there. So you still have to have Disney Plus. It's not like you just have Apple TV and you can play it right through the app. It'll bring you to that app. Is that very similar to
log into everything?
Yes, you have to log into everything. So it's still I guess in one way you could say there's a convenience.
DRM.
Right, of course.
It's a launcher that launches other launchers because they heard you like launchers. It's basically...
Well, no, those other launchers want the DRM for their products. Like, if you buy it from Steam, Steam has to verify you own it. Xbox app is not going to say, oh, you own this. It's just going to launch. Like, it's the same thing as having a desktop. You click on that shortcut on the front, it still has to find the executable. So these storefronts still need to be logged into and set up in order to launch these games. Like you saw, and again, if they're working with some crazy integration like Play Night or something like that, where they'll merge accounts and you could buy games and see your whole library and buy them from there and it works, good on them. But that's a tall order and they're not willing to talk about that right now. So maybe they do later on, but right now it's basically just a shortcut.
All right, Detzinger, what do you got, Detzinger? Because I know you wanted to chime in.
Yeah, I could see. I watched Tom Warren's video and I was looking at it, and it still needs a bunch of improvements. It's nowhere near where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they got a shit ton to do.
Yep.
I know it is only in beta testing mode currently. If you're on the insider build, you got it. So it's not ready for general release yet. The idea is sound because you have so many launchers on PC, and it gets kind of annoying because you need the EA launcher, you need the Ubisoft launcher, you need the Rockstar launcher. Then you had at one time you had the Bethesda launcher, then you have Activision Blizzard, then you have Steam, GOG, then Epic, and the list goes on. And so if you could aggregate the libraries and just like boot up one app and then just play all your games from across all your libraries, like a universal, just one-stop app, that would be fantastic.
Well, don't you use Play Night?
No.
Oh, you should, because that solves everything. You don't use Play Night?
No.
Play Night, you could do a controller input. It downloads the data from the website, so you get the logos, you get the background, you get the launch date. It integrates your whole libraries from Ubisoft, from Xbox, from Steam, from Epic Store. Everything you own. You sync everything there, and Play Night does it all.
Oh, well, that's good.
Right now.
So I'm going to have to look into that.
Do it, please. Tell me about it next week, because it's incredible.
But I can see where they're going with this, but at the same time, they need to show. They need to show that they can do it. So hopefully, hope for the best, because currently the Xbox app is dog doo-doo.
Yeah.
So any improvement might convince more people to actually use their app. Because let's be real, a lot of reason why PC players don't use their app is because it's dog shit.
Yeah.
Like, if it was actually a good app, more people would use it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it wasn't clunky, if the download speeds were real, they didn't gimp you, shit actually worked properly, then yeah, okay, I could see more people using PC Game Pass, right? Because you have to go into the app to use PC Game Pass. So I can see the benefits of having a good app, because more people will want to use it.
It's very slow to download, too.
It is.
Their Xbox PC app is takes forever to download games.
Oh, it's a stupid app. Everyone hates it. Everyone I know hates it.
I don't know what servers they're using, but it takes forever. Steam takes over your computer to download something. It's incredible. Super fast. Same thing Epic does it. I don't know what Microsoft is using, but you download a game from their Game Pass store, it takes forever.
What they already is. Epic downloads faster than Steam for me. And that's just
but Microsoft, I don't know what they're doing with their app. It takes so long to download something.
Let me ask you guys this question too. Like, I saw a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, a few people that are, in the gaming media, and they were like, oh, maybe it's time for me to get a Portal. And they were kind of down on the products early on in the generation. Same thing with PSVR 2. And I just, just to kind of, the whole thing is just getting really old, right? Every single time Microsoft throws something out, and don't get me wrong, Destinger, this isn't to you because you've relayed on the show many a times a convenience factor. You're 99% PC at this point, and that's fine. But I mean, what the Series S, do you remember what they were telling us about that? That's going to be the greatest thing. You had certain people in the media saying it has the same CPU. It'll have better frames than the PS5. Game Pass is the future. We're seeing a few people. I'll pull the tweet up in a second that says that he's heard from the inside that Game Pass has completely become stagnant at this point. Microsoft can only help Activision. Remember, Mooch, come on. This FTC, this is ridiculous. This acquisition is only going to help the people at Activision. They're all in misery and this and that. And it's been layoff after layoff after layoff. Xbox games will never be on PlayStation. I mean, it's hit after hit after hit, and it's just debunked after debunked after debunked. And it's like, earlier they were saying, remember we were saying this on the show all the time, we were saying things like, well, the PlayStation 5 will catch up once they end up having stock in 2020. They didn't do it. Xbox got a lot of them out there, and they're like, oh, no, they're just saying stop the count. It wasn't that. The minute that the PlayStation 5s were back in stock, they never looked back. PlayStation 1 from there on out, it never looked back. The
S didn't help Xbox that they didn't release a single AAA in 2022.
That's right. That's true.
I mean, that's an extremely bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're looking over and you're like, hey, there's nothing there. So
the quarter that they got plentiful stock, right? Sales that quarter of hardware were up 440%. 440%. So it's like people were just waiting on that shit. A lot of people didn't want to pay scalping prices, right? And it is so funny. You mentioned about how someone was saying about they want to pick up a Portal now. Right. I think similar people now picked up a Pro. And I put this tweet out. It's just really short. It's insane how so many people are continually unable to get consumer interests or use case outside of their own little bubbles. And I feel like this happens over and over again, where I don't know if it's like a Twitter or YouTube monetization thing. Mm-hmm. Like every product, especially from, obviously they're catered to a certain fan base. So if their competitor releases or announces a new product, maybe they feel the need to like shit on it. But it's weird because they'll crap on it. And then, like you said, they'll end up being the ones to buy it later on. And it's like, and it's like, to me, even that is like, there's a degree of lacking credibility there, because it's like, look, if you've been shitting on this product and now you want to buy it, that means all the shit you said before, you're a dopey ass motherfucker. Like, it means all the shit you said was irrelevant. Like, you literally didn't read the room.
That's the thing, you go to the media, and one of the things, and I understand, like, by the way, I agree that the Portal is not shout out to a man's way rules life. He's saying, how do I donate? Buddy, I appreciate that. Thank you, by the way. There's a $ sign or something like that. You can donate there if you want. I appreciate that, buddy. But you can also just ask the question. I'll read it, buddy. Always great to have you in the chat. But what I was going to say to you was, like, I said this, Nib, about the Portal. The Portal's not for everybody. I said it's a neat, right? It's a neat adaptation to accessory, to the PS5 at a $199 price. It came out slightly before, around Christmas time or the holiday time, and I'm like, that's a neat little thing. Like, listen, even if you were going to buy a pair of sneakers for your kids, the sneakers they want are well over $200. You could throw that thing under the tree, and you're like, or give it as a gift in the holidays, and it is a phenomenal gift. Like, the idea that everybody was shitting on it, and I'm like, why is everybody absolutely down on this product? I didn't understand that. I'm like, now if there was performance issues or it really sucked or it didn't work, that's different. But it works quite well. I mean, it's.
So, here's the thing, right? Because I have a Backbone. And that was, I don't know how much it is in the United States, but it was I think it was like nearly £100, maybe £80. And I also have like a clip adapter for my tablet as well. my Galaxy or whatever tablet. It's like a high end one. And the thing is, and I still have a use case for the pool because why? And I kept explaining to people, like, if I've already spent 100 quid on just something that attaches to my phone so I can like stream games, why wouldn't I spend like another 80 quid or whatever to get the bigger screen, to get the DualSense haptics, triggers, the touch screen, everything else. And it's like, and then when like you hear dummies say like, oh, it should be like £100 when the backbone is 100 and it doesn't have any of that.
There's nothing there. It just hooks up to your phone.
There. It's just a piece of plastic that clips onto your phone. But the other end of the day, like,
but the other camp literally is like, I'm going to get my Xbox backbone tomorrow. Like they're excited to spend that, and it's like you said, there's no screen, there's nothing in it. It doesn't require. I don't know if it gets any external updates to it. I don't have a backbone, but it's just odd.
And the funny thing is, the PlayStation Portal, it actually does have a Snapdragon SoC in it because it runs Android, right? So there is actually a chipset and APU in there. There is a sound card in there with noise cancellation for the mic and everything. There is obviously advanced haptics and adaptive triggers, and then it's got the touchpad and it's got the light bars and it's like, and then it's got the 8-inch LED screen, which is actually more bright, even though it's not HDR. It's like 100 nits more brightness than the Switch 2's HDR screen, which is hilarious and ironic. Like a non-HDR screen is much brighter than a HDR screen. But the point is, like, all of that stuff, and it's like, what, you expected it to be the same price as a piece of plastic? Like, I don't understand. Like I said, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like, to me, when they announced the price, I thought, okay, that's actually a sensible price, because for like the DualSense alone is like what, $80 or something, or 75, and then all the other stuff that I just mentioned, and the SoC and whatever, the screen, etc., you're getting for like $100 or something. That's not a bad deal. Like, they're obviously not gonna not want to make money on it. Like, they're not a bloody charity. So again, it's just one of those things. I think these people repeatedly, they do not have their finger in the pulse, and I think that is why it's going to be really scathing. But that is why they've been supporting the platform that has continually failed. Because these people just do not have any business acumen, which is why everything they support and everything they purport and champion ends up not coming to fruition or failing.
I do agree, and it's funny because I just think that a lot of times when you have, like, the Xbox Showcase, I thought was I enjoyed it. I thought they showed some good games there. I was shocked to see the responses, and it wasn't just by the PlayStation community. It was across the gaming community. And a lot of people, I actually gave it a better rating than a lot of other people did. And I thought we were going to give it a higher rating. But the one thing that they, they're like, and I think this kind of what aggravates crap to a certain extent in a lot of the other.
Next year, Mooch. Wait till next year.
But crap, remember, they're like the console will do, and we hear you, and we're going to give you the best experience on this and that. And meanwhile, it's really just we're going third party. Every almost, I think there was 3 or 4 games that didn't have a PlayStation logo. The rest all did. And
the funny thing is the ones that didn't have a logo were ones that didn't have a release date. So first of all, like Grounded 2, that's a title that's in the early access program, which Sony doesn't allow those. So that's why that doesn't have a PlayStation logo. And then you look at stuff like Clockwork Revolution, that doesn't have a release date. So there weren't any logos on that at all. You know what I mean? So like the stuff that they had, like first party wise, like and you could tell that they were trying to kind of that's why they didn't do a live audience. You know what I mean? It was just like you could really tell what was going on, and the show wasn't nearly as good as the previous years. Like, I guess the big news was Final Fantasy after 3 years or whatever finally coming to Xbox, but nobody bought it.
No,
so
that's
cool,
the thing. So that's the other thing too. And don't get me wrong. I know that Death Singer said this on the show, and others have come on and said the same thing. Yes, the game is older. So do you expect it to sell? Gangbusters? Not necessarily, but I don't think it's going to sell even halfway decent. And that's
well,
just
the thing that really bugs me, Mooch, also is like the way that Microsoft does their fans that like physical media. Right. So let's just say, for instance, they have 27 million consoles sold. 15 million of those might be Series X. So those people have a disc drive, yet every game that they're putting out doesn't have a physical version.
No physical version,
it's just a code in a box. Meanwhile, in their competition, they're giving you a physical version of these games. It's like, it's ridiculous. I mean, it is utterly ridiculous. And so even though they talk about backwards compatibility and all this stuff, I worry about that. And I mentioned this last week because to them, streaming is backwards compatibility. and that's, to me,
Right.
that's not backwards compatibility at all.
No.
And it's like, what if somebody only had physical disc this generation? I doubt that they're going to have a physical option next gen.
And by the way, just to be fair, crap, that goes for PlayStation too. So if PlayStation Plus Premium is saying, "Oh, we have a lot of our PS3 games, but you can stream them," listen, I'm not. Maybe there's certain people just like on Xbox that enjoy that, but I'm with you, crap. You can keep that. I want to be able to put the PS3 physical disc into the console and play it. You know what I mean? That's back compat. I understand that they're preserving it through other means. Maybe that's all they can do. I don't know. But yeah, I do think that's I do have a couple super chats here. I'm falling behind. Shout out to Nelson's Gaming when I said he was giving me some shit for running late. He goes, "I'm always here. It's my Friday. Closes out the work week." Nelson, thank you so much. Danelle Brown, he goes, "Oh, Danelle's gonna hit the panel hard here. He's gonna hit us hard." He goes, "Shake my head. We were about to hear about Wooly and Nib releasing themselves while playing that Death Stranding 2. Danelle." He says, "Jez, when are we going to write your next article about Microsoft?" Danelle gives Jez a little bit of slack.
The wrong one.
That's the wrong one.
This is not the bootleg. This is not the bootleg.
It's not the bootleg. You're the wrong one, Danelle. Shout out to
Got confused.
Sphinx38. He says, "Every time Phil sneezes, it changes the industry." True story. Glassdoor Gamer says, "Shout out to Crap Gamer, a real Xbox fan." Shout out to Glassdoor. Andy Hart says, "Death Stranding 2 graphical masterpiece."
Changing the game.
Absolutely, Crap.
Changing it, all right.
Domino
there's
Zero.
not many people that I would just like, if I was alone with them, where I just would want to punch them. Never mind. I don't know.
Domino Zero says, "Wait till next year, Craft Source. Trust me, bro." Go ahead.
I'm not saying that. That's what everybody else is saying. They're like, "Wait till next year."
That's what he's saying. The sources trust me.
Yeah, that's been like a crying, like a thing that people have been saying for over a decade. Like, wait till next year, wait till next E3, or wait till this, or wait till that. And it's just like, if you've been with Xbox for any amount of time, I get it, man. Phil teased Halo, Gears, Forza, and Fable. But are those games all coming to PlayStation as well? Because if they are, like what's the point in celebrating Xbox 25? You're not doing Fan Fest anymore. They don't have any exclusives. Yeah. You're putting better versions of the game on the competition and giving them physical versions. Like you're converting your own fans into like making them so that they have to game on PCs and shit. So it's like it's just like one of those weird things that kind of happens, and I don't agree with it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I can't stand it, and not enough people call them out for that or whatever, And by the way, if you don't know that I was talking about Phil Spencer punching him as like a joke, then fuck you, because like people like to run with that shit and they'll cut that up and like, look how serious Crap Gamer is about this console stuff. Like, I don't give a shit about Phil Spencer. I hope that he leaves soon. But, Godspeed and whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't wish the guy any harm. But at the end of the day, like, what he's done to Xbox has completely killed it. And for what? Because like I said last week, you add up every game they put on PlayStation, and it's like 4 million units they've sold, 4 million copies of games.
Yeah.
That's not a lot. Indiana Jones flopped. Doom Dark Ages flopped. Hi-Fi Rush flopped. Pentiment flopped. The only things that did anything were Forza Horizon 5, which, obviously that's a very good game, so that would do okay. And then I think Sea of Thieves did okay at the time they released it because, there was nothing else really out. It's kind of new or whatever. But if you look at it, people just kind of wanted to try it, and now nobody's playing it on PlayStation. You can look at their charts.
Matt McDonald, he says, "Man, you guys are a bunch of crybabies. Just play games and enjoy them." The problem is, Matt, if you're paying attention, you can read what's scrolling. Is we want to play the games, buddy, but people are more. There's rumors that studios are closing, and there's a lot of people that liked what Turn 10 was putting out. Turn 10. I just say this because it's a rumor right now. But if Turn 10 closes and you lose Forza Motorsport, the thing is this. I've said this a number of times, and I love it. Once something happens with Game Pass, everybody that would love Game Pass will be like, well, I saw the writing on the wall. But we've been saying this for a long time. Game Pass and the way that now, don't get me wrong. There's a couple of exceptions to the rule, right? Obsidian has done phenomenal work. I think. The folks that are making also was it Clockwork Revolution, from what we saw, looks phenomenal. But I mean, outside
really good.
A lot of the other games, some of them just are lackluster. They just haven't shown that quality. And some of them are Redfall, Starfield. Indiana Jones I thought was very good. The problem with Indiana Jones is I think the audience for an Indiana Jones wasn't there. In my personal opinion, I could be
20
wrong.
years ago.
Right? Yeah, maybe 20 years ago, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So that wasn't really
I
there.
liked it. That was my favorite.
It's a
game
great.
last year,
It's a great game.
Yeah,
The quality is there for that one, but they're far and few between for all the games that they've released. I'm wondering if Microsoft's even scratching their head about letting Starfield go to PlayStation. I don't know if they're even making a Starfield port anymore. I don't think so.
Who was it? It's
Who knows?
Jez who writes for Windows Central. He was like they were saying like what's even the point of putting Hellblade 2 on PlayStation? Like nobody's gonna buy it.
Yeah, that's not
I
a
think
wrong
the same thing
statement.
Frames. That's what it's for.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I think the same thing
it's wild out there, man. It's crazy.
I think the same thing for South at Midnight and Avowed. What would be the point? You would probably spend more in porting it and marketing it than the sales would be on PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I've said. Microsoft doesn't have a ton of those like killer IP that are just going to blow up and do well. I mean, they had a few good ones, and I think again, go back and play Gears. I love Gears of War, but that shit plays old. It plays slow.
I was just gonna say, crap.
I play a lot of it, man.
If you're somebody who's used to playing Call of Duty, Apex Legends, Fortnite, and you go try out Gears, you're not gonna have a good time. You just aren't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say with Gears, like when you look across like the kind of IP that have with each iteration still review really well. Because I actually really enjoy Gears, and even though I didn't like Gears 4, I really loved Gears 5, which I know some people didn't like. It's fine, subjective at the end of the day. But even playing those games and then, like, say, playing like an Uncharted, which launched at the same time. But when you look at the kind of evolution that Uncharted has, like look at Uncharted 4 with the rope swing and with the dynamism of the engagements and how much flexibility you can swim, this, that. Like, there's a frenetic energy to the mechanics, and there's like a technological advancement to him that really blows you away. Like it feels really next gen when you play that. And when you go like to Gears, not only is narratively and writing wise, it's not up there with like I wouldn't say just the Sony stuff, but like with Rockstar, etc., and a lot of the kind of tentpole games that have really good storytelling. So it's not up there in that regard. And I just think even mechanically, it's quite aged now. It's like it just hasn't evolved with the times. Like even I remember in Gears 5, the stealth, you pretty much just go invisible. I was like, wow, that's a really lazy iteration of stealth. Like one of the kind of poorest I've seen in a game in a while. But YOLO, at least they tried something different. And yeah, it's just like it's a similar sort of thing. Even the AI, the stop and pop cover shooting, and with the multiplayer, the shotgun focus. I think like I get it. Like it's kind of a similar thing with Halo, where you've got a really like smaller and smaller and smaller contingent of fans saying, no, this is what the IP is, this is what it has to be. And it's like, bro, you guys are dwindling away. Who cares at the moment what you guys think? Because the masses are leaving these IP behind. So it doesn't really matter what you think anymore. They need to evolve. They need to reboot, just like we've said before.
Yeah, there was some videos that I watched, and I was going to ask Jez this question because Jez, I know you were streaming it or playing it. I saw you mention it on X about Gears, and like I was actually when I saw Reloaded coming out, I said, "Oh, this is great," because I can play that on Xbox. For the nostalgia factor, I have not picked up any of the other Xbox games that have come to PlayStation. Gears was going to be the first one. And I still probably will, just because to have Gears of War on PlayStation and get the trophies, that's going to be fun to just play through. The campaign aside, the multiplayer, I was watching a bunch of the bigger channels that are gearheads. They're like big time Gears of War fans. And they put out videos and they were saying that there's a problem here. And the problem is that the game isn't evolving, right? And they said the reason that this wasn't a big deal with Ultimate Edition was a nice, give it a paint job and really bring it up to some of the graphical things. And it was an homage to some of the big time fans. He was like, this is fine. But he said the problem with Reloaded, with the problems it has right now in multiplayer, and he went through a bunch of them. He says this is supposed to be Gears' reintroduction to a whole nother platform. I think it's, and Dessinger can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's coming to PlayStation and PC. It's not on, that's not on PC, right? Steam, right? First time on Steam. And he's like, you have such a large audience that's going to want to play this game and maybe make this a big multiplayer experience. And he's like, they really haven't done anything to make the game better. The spawn points are bad. The spawn timings are like the same.
Camping.
They're the same across all maps. And you can't do that because all maps are different in where you spawn and how you come out. So he went into a bunch of different details. And this was TLC. The guy was actually pouring his heart out. This wasn't a hit piece or anything like that. This was a legit pouring his heart out, and that was kind of a bummer to see. Not just that, but I saw a lot of us on X say, I can't get into like you're stuck in the lobby forever.
The first weekend was bad.
It was bad. The first weekend
was hard to get in. And then they didn't extend it the first weekend, and they only gave deathmatch, just deathmatch. That was it. And then they added King of the Hill and Execution and Ranked the following weekend. And definitely, I got to say, the weekend to weekend, the second weekend, it was much, I felt that the hit detection was improved. The first weekend was bad. Like, it was like, it was not functioning properly. But, I definitely hear all those things because I felt the same way in the sense that they really didn't, they just kind of reskinned the Gears Ultimate. And if you remember, when we bought Gears Ultimate, we got all the other Gears codes. Remember to play all the other ones, 1 to 4, 1 to 3. They gave you those too if you bought Ultimate too. You got Gears 1, 2, you got Gears 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, I mean. And we're also getting Gears 4 the next year. And this was sort of like a introduction. But this one, I agree. Like, it's going on PlayStation. It's going on Steam for the first time. I wish they added more of the modern fixes that they made in the later Gears of Wars to this. Like, this really is the first Gears of War, which at the time was fine because that's what we had. This was the beginning of it. But now after I felt just kind of bummed out because I remember when they added Horde mode, when they added multiple executions for multiple different weapons, like the pistol, get the ground pound. And now it's just the stomp. That's all it was. And then they have and even the animation of doing the chainsaw, like the behind the back animation where it goes up. They don't have that in the first one. It was always the slice down.
Right.
Not even having the chainsaw conflict. All those were in the later Gears of Wars. And I understand this is just the first one, so you wouldn't expect those, but they kind of affixed the stopping power of the Lancer where people can't just charge up to you and hit you with the shotgun.
Yeah.
Like, this was the first one, so I understand that they really didn't do anything like that. But the problem is that it's hard to play that when you played better ones where they fixed some of the problems of the first game.
Yeah, you can't go backwards with that, right? I mean,
it's hard. Yeah, I know. It's between a rock and a hard place because it's like, do you want them to make they should have made, it's nice that they put the multiplayer in it. I really think they should have just done the kind of the Marcus Phoenix collection because the real reason why this is coming out is really for the story to help us with E-Day. That's kind of the reason why they're bringing this back. So I would say they should have just done the Marcus Phoenix collection, just give us the campaigns. It's nice that they're doing the multiplayer, but if they're going to spoon feed each Gears to us for $40, and the other thing was, Mooch, is that this beta wasn't an open beta. You had to pre-order the game for $40 in order to get access to it. So that first weekend was rough, knowing I paid $40 to play this game, and I couldn't get into anything.
Right.
And then it was laggy. And then I did the second weekend, which improved. But even playing King of the Hill again, I'm like, you can't tag grenades because that was in the later Gears of War. So I'm like, oh man, you can't tag a spot, tag a wall, tag the King of the Hill.
You've got to put the quality of life improvements as you move forward. And I know we're going to get into
I wish they did. They should have merged them.
It's a product of 2006. And it's the same thing when people go, Halo's going to be so big when it comes to PlayStation. I'm like, you're probably getting a Halo CE remake.
Right.
How many people are going to want to play a game where you can't sprint or aim down the sights? Like, I'm just saying, like, you can't sprint, you can't aim down the sights.
Right.
Like, I don't think there's going to be a big market for that in 2025 or 2026 or whatever the case may be. I know they've tried to fix Halo up over the years or whatever, but it's just like those games are very much a product of their time.
Yeah.
And the original studios, I think the studios really poured their heart and souls into them, and it was revolutionary. I bought an Xbox 360 for Gears of War, right? Halo 3 was like the epitome. Like, everybody had to be playing Halo, man. It was like it was exclusive to Xbox 360, yet you had over 1.3 million people playing it every day. Right. And Microsoft used to be like touting that. It's like, think about that for a second. People were like nutting themselves over 70,000 people on a Steam game. And back in the day on an Xbox 360 would get 1.3 million concurrently on Halo 3 every fucking night.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, it's just like, it's so funny to me how far things have kind of fallen, that people will be like, look, and you look at the Steam thing for the open beta, I think 1,400 people played it on Steam. Or what, I know it wasn't open or whatever, but 1,400
It was
people. $40.
No, and that's the thing. It wasn't an open beta. The way they ran it, if it should have been, because it was not functioning.
Right.
Well, it was open. It was open if you have Game Pass on Xbox or PC.
Yeah, but not the big spots where. And they also gave it for free. I got the code too on my PC because I owned it. But the big places where it's coming out on PlayStation and Steam, the new places, you had to pay $40 to play it.
Yeah,
it's the same game as the 2014 though. If you're an Xbox fan, it's
the same as the Ultimate Edition.
I didn't see from Ultimate. Yeah, well, because I played the hell out of Ultimate.
Yeah, they didn't. I did too, and they didn't really. It's really 100% just for like the PlayStation crowd.
they made the option right now, so you don't have to play with PC. But I got news for you. Shout out to Compost Smurf in the chat. He says forced crossplay incoming. Absolutely, Death Singer. What were you?
The first couple months, I think. Yeah.
Death Singer. What were you gonna say?
Yeah.
Now, there's a common misconception because if you're on PC when Halo Infinite launched, like, see, this is how you separate between console players and PC players, right? Because the multiplayer is straight fire, is the most fire it's ever been. People absolutely adored it. Tons of people on it. You look at the Steam reviews, praise the multiplayer out the ass because the multiplayer is peak Halo. They nailed it. Now, where they went wrong, campaign was dog shit.
Yep.
People complained about that.
Thank you for saying that as well. I appreciate that.
You fucked up on the campaign. See, that's why we all agreed, if Halo Infinite had a really good campaign, like a Halo 3 or a Halo 2, that game would be doing fucking fire right now. It would be hot. But because it doesn't have that, all it has is the multiplayer, and they've been fucking up the multiplayer by doing these random updates that seem to be breaking the game.
I disagree with you, man, but I'll respond later.
Thing is, it's like, because when it launched, it was 275,000 peak concurrent. Like, people were hyped for Halo, and the multiplayer was fire, but the campaign didn't do anything, and then they broke the game through updates. So it's their own incompetence that killed the game, because the multiplayer is perfectly fine. It's just everything else they fucked up.
The thing is, so Death Singer, the only thing is, I know where you're coming from, and if you're talking about polish, okay, I'll back you up in that corner, because I said the same thing. There's people who making jokes in the comments about Concord. People made fun of Concord, this and that. The game worked. No one ever said the game was not polished. The game worked. Halo, the game worked phenomenal. It was polished. The thing about it goes back to what Crap said. It's that quality of life. The way people play multiplayer games now. Go on anywhere, wherever you want. Go look at what's big on Steam right now. Go look at what's big on Twitch right now, where people are even watching, let alone playing. And they need that Twitch shooter. They want things to be faster. It doesn't have to be Call of Duty, but it can be like.
That's not true.
What's not?
Valorant is not that. CS:GO is not that.
CS:GO. You're right, but I was gonna say, but Valorant and games like Overwatch and Marvel, they're faster paced than Halo.
I think with Halo Infinite, and I don't know, I have a very different recollection of the multiplayer. Than I do think mechanically amazing. Like, it feels really good and it's great to play, but the multiplayer out the gate was also ass, because it had the same issue that a lot of multiplayer games have, and that even Concord, suffered from, which is that the content and unlocks were just.
Nib will be right back.
Yep.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So the unlocks were like a travesty. The season pass, which I actually purchased, and then I went through all the unlocks of the season pass, and I was like, oh my god, why did I waste my money? Like, it was like a green little plate for your wrist that doesn't make no bit of difference. Or like, I think the only thing in there that was remotely enticing was the final thing, which I think it was like a flaming pad or something like that. But literally everything else in the season pass was like nonsense, like tiny little things like a color change, not even like extravagant armor pieces or anything like that. Like what the hell kind of reward is that? And then on top of that, it's weird because before it launched, they said it's going to have like task-based experience instead of just like playing, you know, like in Call of Duty, just playing, you get experience and level up, etc. They were going to have like a, you know, complete this objective and get experience or whatever. And even though they had a real severe backlash to it, they went and did it anyway. And then they launched, and then people really disliked that, and they were really vocal about not liking the progression system. And they were like, oh, "Okay, we hear you, we're going to change it." And I'm like, "What? Is there something mentally wrong with these people?" Because we already knew the reception was super bad before the game even came out. Just when it was leaked that it was going to have this type of progression, then they do it anyway, and then get even more backlash, and then they change it. And I think these things like just compounded together to kill the initial hype, basically. Like, it just didn't have that staying power, because even though the gameplay is competent, you know, one, maybe it's not fast enough paced for some of the new age sort of players, and two, the content and progression and unlocks and everything like that just was not there. And I keep saying, like, in this day and age, with how competitive the multiplayer space is,
Yes.
if you do not come with the goods and with the incredible unlocks and rare items and this and that and progression systems, you're stifling yourself.
The thing is that, just bouncing off that point, back in the Gears 1 era and the Halo 2 era, the Halo 3 era even, like, the issue is, back then, just shooting up other players was a novelty. That was the selling point. So, you know, that was the innovation. You know, multiplayer itself was a huge thing, was a huge deal. So, you know, now that's the expectation. So the game has to deliver, you know, far more in its multiplayer for it to stick. You can get good, solid multiplayer games that just die like within weeks, because the expectation to have something to chase and pursue is so strong now. Yeah. It's
And
constant. It's constant carrot on the stick. Yeah, facts.
That is exactly why I said they shot themselves in the foot with it, because the actual day-to-day gameplay, if you jump in multiplayer, is fire. Like, it feels a bit quicker, but more importantly, all the guns feel right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the first thing we did as soon as we loaded it, when it launched, right, the first thing we did was grab the BR, because the BR is probably the most important game in Halo. The BR has to feel good. We went into a custom game, and we're like, okay, let's just only BRs and let's see what happens. And the BRs felt great, and we're like, okay, cool. They nailed the multiplayer, but then, as you said, the season passes. Then you had the campaign, which was lackluster, and it's like, you had a good product, but you fucked it over by doing all this ridiculous bullshit when you could have just, you know, made a good campaign and actually made a decent season pass with some skins on it, because, you know, shout out to Fortnite, their season passes are fire. Like, they give you, like, what is it? Like, most of the time they give you big chase skins as well. Like, they had Doctor Doom in there, they have Superman, like, you had Sub-Zero in there. Like, you have all these great characters that people want, and people will chase it because it's like, oh, let me level up the battle pass because I want to run around with Sub-Zero. So it's, you know, you need the hype behind it, but they didn't do that.
I don't know if you guys play Apex Legends, right? But I remember when I played that at launch, I was like, oh, let me just check this out. Like, you know, I didn't really know anything about it. I just know Respawn, that obviously they're really competent in their gameplay and stuff. And I remember when I played it, and, you know, there's a bit of RNG to what you unlock. And I remember straight off the bat, I unlocked this, like, legendary, or whatever their highest form of it is, skin for, like, the robot, the, like, android guy, like, hello, and he has, like, a grappling hook, right?
Yep.
And I'm like white plated with gold embroidery and stuff. I'm like, raw. I've got, like, amazing, like, you know, custom designs all over me. And I'm like, I'm definitely flexing this. So I play with this character. And then, like, oh, you know, at first I'm like a noob. I'm just grappling forward. I'm not doing much with it. But then I start seeing, like, other people in other games. They use this character, and they're, like, catapulting themselves, like, freaking miles. And I'm like, how the hell are they doing this? So I start watching these YouTube videos, and it turns out there's a whole, like,
there's a whole mechanics behind the use of his grapple, where you can use it to like basically just leap across the map like Incredible Hulk or something if you're effective with the techniques. So then I start mastering his techniques and everything, and I'm like, wow, like because of this sort of, let's just say just visual update that I got with the skin, that brought me in and made me master his techniques and his gameplay mechanics and everything else. And the same happened with multiple other characters, where I'd get like a really funky skin or funky aspect or something, and that would make me pursue something else and sort of a whole new gamut of gameplay and mechanics. And it's that kind of driver that you need. It's that addiction that keeps people hooked and allows you to explore more of the game through it as well.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Twitch shooter. You don't have to be a Call of Duty and fast, because I think of the big three, right? Rainbow Six Siege, that's a slow game. But Valorant, CSGO, and Rainbow Six, they are tactical shooters, right? Because when you can't just run and gun. You'll lose for your team. You'll literally throw the game.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go in, you have to decide, when do you want to buy? When do you want to save money? What are the ultimates? Does the enemy team have 3 ultimates? You only have 2 ultimates. If someone pops their ultimate, are you going to pop your ultimate to counter their ultimate? And everything slows down, and it becomes more about strategy and, are you actually good at shooting people? But so you can do that. You just need to be good. You just need to be a good game. Like CS has always been good. Then you have Valorant, which came out. It's like amazing skins, amazing characters, amazing progression, amazing abilities. Like it's peak hero shooter. And then you have Siege, which a shout out to them, because I didn't think they were able to do it when they first released Siege, and a lot of people were down on it. But hey, that shit's taken off. So
let me ask you guys a question real quick here, because then I want to move on to another subject here. How do you guys think that Gears will fare on PS5? Do you think that a lot of the sales numbers will be impressive, and especially due to the nostalgia of, wow, this is one of the main pillars? I know that people say Forza Horizon was that game. I think Gears, even no matter what we say about the multiplayer and what actually transpires from that, I really do think it'll do well in sales on PlayStation still. Do you guys think it will, or it may?
You mean the new one, E-Day?
Yeah,
no, I mean Reloaded.
Oh, the Reloaded.
Yeah, I think for the campaign.
Yeah, I think for the campaign it'll do quite
nostalgia.
well.
And
right?
for the nostalgia, because the Gears multiplayer is nostalgia. It's just playing it. It's it's antiquated, but it is still like classic Gears, and you get that. I think it's gonna do fine. I just hope that they add some more DualSense features to it. Like when you do the roadie run, it's not it doesn't like kind of give that rumble there. So hopefully they add more DualSense to it. That would be cool. But and apparently maybe they'll fix it up. Like it did show improvement over the week, so hopefully. But we'll see. I don't know if they have any more betas planned. The thing is though, is that's releasing, so like it's releasing in end of August. Like it's like we're gonna be there's so many other games coming around that time too. So and they even dropped Hellblade around the same
Hellblade's in August as well. August and September are honestly
that was boring as hell.
No, that's the other thing. I'm just not. Yeah, Hellblade. I didn't. I played it for about 2 or 3 hours on Xbox, and I was like, "Nah, this is."
I beat that game.
I mean, when you actually feel like the mechanics regressed, it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel good. It was kind of a little bit. I don't know. I found it to be even more boring. I didn't mind the first one, to be honest with you. It was all right.
No, the first one had better combat.
First one was good. Combat was much better.
The second one looked better, but the combat was
Yeah.
more of on rails. Like, and also too, what's crazy is that in the update now they added the rot game, the rot mode, which I couldn't believe when I was playing it. I was like, where's the rot? Like when you die, your body would get more rot on it, and that was sort of like a mechanic. And now they added it to it in a kind of an endurance mode, which took them a while, but I don't know where it was at launch.
Good, it's a doo-doo game. No one should. No,
it is.
There's a reason why I actively hate the genre.
The first one was good though. The first one, the story was better, the combat was better. The second one, it looked good, but it was the fighting was,
and that's one of the things that's a prime example, Jazz. We were all talking about this through the years in podcasts, especially when Ninja Theory was one of the first to be acquired, and everyone's like, look at what they were able to do when they could barely even finish their first project, right? With Hellblade 1, and they're like, Microsoft got remember the pictures came out, the facility, flying them out to a location, all new mocap equipment, all this stuff, and they're like, let them cook, and it was like, it was just a dud. And it's not really that you blame Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory actually put out, that was them saying, hey, this is actually better than the first one as far as visuals, location. But the thing is like, Microsoft doesn't put their finger on the pulse of these things. And, Blustery, I think in the chat, he's like, Mooch, come on. He's like, don't say like Halo slowly. You're full of it. Like when you go on, and I use Twitch as an example because you don't only see people playing the games, and there's lots of people playing the games, but how many people are watching and then playing those games later? And when you see like Halo Infinite, there's nobody streaming it. There's nobody watching it, And it's because this new generation, they want something faster. They want something. Halo can be amazing if they make a new Halo. Make it faster. Make it a little bit more Twitch. And people go, well, that's not Halo. Well, you have to evolve with the times. We've said that every game that comes out, and we're about to go into Death Stranding 2 here, and there's a lot to talk about with Death Stranding 2 with no spoilers, just mechanics, things like that. The quality of life things that I've played in the first 3.5 hours of Death Stranding 2 is makes the game miles better, more enjoyable than the first one already.
Just quickly, is layoffs a subject, or are we already past it?
No, go ahead if you want to discuss. We didn't leave the. I kind of with crap kind of his rant went through the Hellblade 2. Okay. We did Gears. We did touch on the layoffs. But go ahead if you have a topic on the layoffs, please.
I just wanted to touch. Yeah, I did want to touch on the layoffs thing because. I was one of those who was against mass consolidation, and I don't just mean for Xbox or Microsoft,
right,
but for everyone.
Any
for
of them,
Tencent, for everyone, including PlayStation as well. I didn't like the fact that they were buying up all these things. And I remember at the time, like I said, there was multiple reasons, like in terms of long-term ramifications to competition, to studio independence, to management. And now I see like a lot of journalists and stuff saying there was no evidence to suggest it would have negative ramifications. And I'm like, bro, like at the time I was literally sharing evidence and past sort of precedents of how negative it can be. I was even talking about how PlayStation and Xbox actually have a history of layoffs and studio closures and everything like that. Some of their biggest acquisitions no longer exist. They've been closing studios left and right? When things don't pan out, they close publishers or studios that have been around a long time before they acquired them. And then another thing, like I remember I know obviously this is beyond the purview of most people and they're not interested in this sort of shit, but it fascinates me, is like I shared a lot of studies as well. Like I shared one study by the IZA Institute of Labor Economics, who did the study with Harvard Labor and Applied Macronomics. And they actually they did a deep dive into the history of acquisitions and consolidation around the world, but primarily in the United States. And their data showed that post consolidation of large scale acquisitions, there was the average percentage of layoffs that followed was 8.5% of the workforce. They also said that the average drop in labor income that followed was 2.6%. Immediately after the acquisition, ABK announced 9% layoffs, which is very close to that 8.5%. Immediately after Bungie, PlayStation's layoffs, acquisitions, they also announced an 8.5% cut in their workforce, which again is very similar to the average. So it's almost like whoever they hire to do the fat trimming, they like work to an orchestrated kind of degree. So we already knew that they might have mass layoffs, but now it's even exceeded that to a much higher degree because, for example, last year alone, Xbox actually cut, if I get the number somewhere, I believe it's 2,700 and something people they laid off just last year. And to put that into context, the only one in the entire industry that was even close to that figure was what are they called? Not Tencent, the other one. They did
Embracer.
Atrocious job. Embracer group,
yeah.
Right. Now, if the rumors are true about this year, there being another potentially 1,000 to 2,000 layoffs, that would put Microsoft Xbox at the top and would be a staggering 30 to 40% of Xbox as a whole, right?
I can't even. There hasn't been a cut like that I can remember in decades, literal decades.
This is a trimming of the meat and leaving the skeleton.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So the reason I brought up this subject, right, is because I know some journalists have been going out with other people, and I don't want to point any specific fingers, but there is a bit of me that like is kind of frustrated, and this isn't console warring because this is really depressing shit. Like people's
Yeah.
lives are being affected. This is a human cost. Like people are suffering. They're losing their money, their bread and butter, their income. But the thing that does annoy me about it and does piss me off, and this is not console wars, this is just the people and all the fans and all the friggin' journalists and influencers who, out of sheer ignorance, remember they championed consolidation. They would say stuff like, "This is going to be better for the employees. They're going to have more job security." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about? These big companies are not charities." And I kept hearing, Xbox won't do that because they have a massive war chest. Do you know how they got that war chest? Is by being frugal and savvy and cutthroat. By counting the profits and whatever, and the more you spend, the more oversight there is from the top, right? So, spending a few million on an acquisition is one thing. Spending 80 whatever billion or 76 billion on it plus the 8.1 from ZeniMax is a completely different kettle of fish. That is when, remember, in their post fiscal year and report, whatever, they have like a conference where investors ask questions about the future of different products.
Yes.
It was the first time in years that an investor had asked about Xbox. They weren't even on the radar before because most investors like, who cares? They're like, it's a piece of the side pie. But now it's like you're spending 100 billion of our money or 80 billion of our money. We want results. We need to know what the hell's going on with this investment. So it pisses me off, and it's kind of like you guys ran with this thing about it being great for employees, counter to all the evidence. I don't know if it was console wars or propaganda or whatever. But now when people bring that up, people are very quick to say you're just console warring. Don't console war off something so serious. No, it's called accountability.
Yeah.
Everyone who pushed this has egg on their face, and you need to take some kind of and even feel a bit of remorse because the things you pushed were basically lies, were basically propaganda, and now there's a human toll. And I don't just mean Xbox either, I mean literally everyone. And the final thing I will say is, I know what people are going to say. Oh, there's layoffs across the whole industry, and it happens with or without consolidation. True, but there are specific consolidation-based fat trimming and layoffs that happen that would not have happened without consolidation, and we know that because Xbox themselves told us. One of the reasons Xbox said for the layoffs at ABK, and I quote, was overlap. And if people don't know what overlap is when you have jobs within Xbox that people at ABK are already doing, or you have specialties that are already being covered by people you already have. Those layoffs would not have happened if it were not for the acquisition, because you wouldn't have the overlap to begin with. So you need to understand, yes, of course, the whole industry is struggling, but not to this scale. The publishers that have been involved in mass acquisitions, not just small ones, mass consolidation like PlayStation, Embracer, and Xbox, they are cutting far more jobs than everyone else, and Xbox and Embracer in particular. It's like a catastrophic number. We're talking about going into 5,000 layoffs now in 2 years potentially.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of people are saying, but a lot of people in the chat that are not agreeing with this say, bro, people are getting laid off in the gaming industry. This is not news. OJ, it is. It's very big news, actually. Every single outlet's talking about it. Every single gaming media has an article or a podcast or even a 4 to 10 minute video on YouTube about it. And every show you listen to is going to at least bring it up at some period of time. And Nib's giving you unbelievable stats here that kind of prove the point of how this is not a normal situation, because they went when they
30 to 40% of the entire platform. That's unheard of. That's like, imagine if 30 to 40% of Sony was just cut overnight of PlayStation Studios. Like, that's what we're talking. And it's like, it's a massive deal. And Nib, you're very diplomatic to not say names, but there are some who are so insufferably ignorant and such wet lettuces that they would deflect from any accountability when called out for cheerleading this consolidation spree, for spouting complete nonsense in absolute ignorance to all the evidential basis for concern about consolidation. Saying no, there's no evidence to suggest consolidation is bad for the industry. That they were Destin's words. They were Destin Legary's words. There is nothing to suggest consolidation.
Well, there was loads of people, though, not just him.
Right. Yeah, I know.
More than him.
He said there was no evidence for it. I could literally give you 3 research papers.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So this just shows the level of ignorance that we're talking about. Like, these people take it upon themselves to speak, right? They put themselves in positions where they position themselves to speak on things, right? And they're in positions in the gaming industry when it comes to like journalism and gaming outlets, and the predominant microphone that the average consumer listens to. So they're an authority, right? And for them to preach and cheerlead in such ignorance what is clearly harmful to not only the industry and developers and jobs, but long term to the consumer.
It goes back, Woolley.
Harming the consumer.
It goes back to what we were saying.
Directly harming.
It was going back, Woolley, to what we were saying, though. You're right on that aspect. It is harming, and that's what happens. And I agree with Nib. I didn't like the acquisition on Microsoft's side. I'm not a big fan of Sony also with their acquisition. Now, a company picking up like Housemarque and how they picked up Insomniac. I mean, you could turn around and say, well, they've done work with them exclusively for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's a relationship there. I'm not even going to make an excuse for that, but that's fine. And those were much smaller scale. And let's go back to what Nib was saying, if we're paying attention. The overlap there was not there. Sony bought them because they said, that's a void we have. We actually don't have that talent there. We want that talent. Like the thing that Insomniac creates, they're a creative genius, their art style. They don't have another, that's not what Naughty Dog's doing. Sucker Punch isn't doing that, right? So there's not an overlap there. You're getting a unique IP from those folks or a unique set of skills. With Microsoft absorbing 13,000 people, or maybe more from, and Nib, you probably have the numbers, more from the Activision acquisition. A lot of the stuff that those folks bring to the table as far as skill set and things like that, they had 343. 343 is a big company. That's a big boy. Yeah. And they had a bit of the overlap there. They have the Coalition. Coalition's very talented. And it
just annoys me. It just annoys me, Mooch, that these people who are in these positions who are being called out for basically eating their own words. They're calling people who have reminded them that they cheerled this and they asked for this. Mm-hmm. They're disregarding them as clowns, as console warriors.
Well, that's the one thing I've said on the show for many times, Woolley, is I've always wondered about why is it we bring up the news. Why there's 2 or 3 people in the chat, and I'm kind of glad they're talking about it. I don't mind going back and forth and discussing it with them. But to be honest with you, we bring up the weekly news and it's fanboy. Right, but then they'll bring up something, and the way that they promote it on X or on a different form of media, and it's just like, well, wait, I'm not a fanboy, I'm not a console war, but listen, it's all banter back and forth. Yeah. I mean, even Xbox, PlayStation, they've all done their own fair share of console warring.
No self-awareness, bro.
It's like, you can't say that this person can't console war, but you can.
You brought up Insomniac, right? And that, like, for example, I thought the acquisition of Playground Games was fantastic.
Yes.
They've only basically worked on Xbox IP.
That's
you
right.
Nurtured them. You grew them. They're integral to your company.
That's right.
Why did Insomniac only cost 229 million for PlayStation? Why? Because they don't really own much IP. Most of the projects, the big tentpole projects that they worked on, are owned by PlayStation. So they're literally buying talent that has a history of working with them, right? And what happened with Insomniac post-acquisition, right? They went from a few hundred developers, and now they're like, I think close to 1,000, maybe even over by now. I don't know, right? So they didn't. Not only did they not do layoffs, they exponentially grew the studio, right?
Yes.
Because this is the difference. It wasn't a mass, large-scale consolidation that required, had loads of overlap and required lots of fat trimming in order for profit and margin. It was a pure talent grab that they wanted to produce more sort of Marvel IP and all the rest of it, right?
Right.
So it's a very different thing. So these kind of smaller scale acquisitions, great. Like, if you want to buy smaller, and they could do with the funding or whatever, fine. But the large scale acquisition comes with an entire different degree of oversight and sort of return on investment.
Hey, Mooch.
Yes, that's
the thing is, I'm a big fan of like the smaller stuff because there's a lot of talented indie studios that are struggling in the way the gaming industry is. Like, it's really difficult. Obsidian even said that. It's like, if Pillars of Eternity doesn't work, that studio shut down immediately. Lights off. Good night. All the developers go everywhere. Storied studio. But then they got picked up, and I'm like, thank goodness, because these guys are so good they need to be acquired. And there's a bunch of small studios. Like, when I think of Larian is still technically indie. Owl Cap Games, they make fantastic games.
Yeah,
Larian is massive though, by the way. I think it's like 580 devs.
But even then, it's still an independent team. And sure, they hit gold with Baldur's Gate 3, but it's still touch and go with a company like that. But Baldur's Gate 3 has set them on the right path. They don't need to be acquired. They make so much money off Baldur's Gate 3 now. Like, they are sailing into the wind. It's like CD Projekt Red are independent, but obviously, they can do that because they got buku cash.
Ninja Theory were a great get. Ninja Theory was a great get. And I fully support them buying Ninja Theory. Even Bethesda, like, if they had made the games exclusive, like, I wouldn't have had a major issue with that. But flipping heck, Bethesda turned heads. Bethesda was like, all right, Microsoft, steady on, mate. All right, fair dues. Yeah. Let's hope this creates some competition, but steady on. Activision Blizzard, there's another factor as well that I think Nib will appreciate is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nib, but time value depreciation is also a thing where if you make a huge, massive investment, that leaves a deficit that needs to be made back. And until that money turns a profit, it's a deficit. But and the length of time needed to turn that, the longer the time period, the greater the depreciation on the value proposition of that purchase. So 90 billion, you need to make that money back quick. And when it comes to Activision Blizzard, they're making 3 billion a year tops. You are not making that money back quick. So it's like. And so the time value depreciation, if that's the correct term, I just made it up, but it's trying to describe basically how those shareholders are looking at their watches going, how long is this going to take for this to turn a profit? And so, of course, they were going to make cuts.
This is the thing. If you look at it from like a business perspective, right? That investment that they made, 76 billion. You got to remember that investment could have been made in any number of sectors to make them the return on investment, right? It could have been in cloud, it could have been purchasing some other new IP, or it could have been purchasing some other new company, AI upstart or something like that was coming up, or one of the Chat GPT equivalents or whatever. I know Microsoft already has their hand in that, but the point is there is countless companies right now which have been shored up or are purchased or available for sale, where shareholders are like, we see much more return in that, right? So hence there's more sort of eyes on this. But yeah, it is a weird one. It is a weird one how I'll be honest, if I was an indendent studio, I would stay away from both PlayStation and Xbox, if I'm truly honest, because
absolutely
right now the way they are, how cutthroat they are, if shit doesn't line up and they're not meeting the targets, it looks like, and this is PlayStation as well, by the way.
Yeah, you're
even
out
with the live service stuff. Yeah, you're out, man. You're
out, and the worst part about it, depending on how the contracts are written, Nib, you're out, and they keep your IP.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I remember I did a tweet and I went through, the studios that Xbox closed. most of them have been around for so long before the acquisition, and then as soon as they're acquired, and I hate to laugh because it's really depressing, but as soon as they're acquired, within 1, 2, 3 years, despite being around for 7 to 13 years prior, like Tango Gameworks and stuff, 1 to 3 years after acquisition, they're already closed. It's crazy. And this is the thing, Sony and Xbox, I have to reiterate, they have a history of doing this shit, guys. Like, they have closed so many studios. They're not, like, PlayStation is where they are for a reason. Like, and they're very frugal with what they keep and what they don't and what they invest in. And if you're not up to that quality bar, or you're not up to that, return on investment, they're gonna cut you. They're gonna cut you.
It is. It sounds like again, each acquisition, each studio that was purchased has a different background and financial situation at that time, right? So, let's say, Nib, me and you have a developing firm, right? We've made a few games. They've been good, but they just haven't paid out. All of a sudden, Microsoft sees or Sony sees this potential in us, and they come in with a larger number than we've seen in a while, and they take care of all of our back debt, and we actually walk out. Now we're actually in the in the red, or not in the red, you're in the black, and you're doing well, And the thing about it is, they may think that's enough, and they're like, well, listen, we have security. You'd be amazed how many people would be okay with security. But when you have a team that is like, I'm just picking this one out of a hat, the same way Deathsinger said, Larian Studios. Larian knows they're going to deliver. They know they're only going to put out this insane quality. I don't see Larian taking a safety value proposition when they know that they can make 3 times that in another, go around with one of their IP. So it depends, and it depends on the situation. If you're in dire straits, I think like that Ninja Theory was probably, doing okay, but not doing great. They're probably like, yeah, we'll definitely take that. We'll take that check for sure. But like, when it comes down to it, someone asked in the chat, Nib, this, and I want to switch over to Death Stranding too, because I know Woolie's got a lot to say as well as you guys. Bungie, they said, well, why would Bungie cost $3.6 billion if it was an IP situation and they didn't, for some reason, Sony wasn't going to own. Well, I think Sony does own their IP when they bought them, but they're still independent. But out of that $3.6 billion, was it $1.2 billion was going to the actual staff to retain them?
It was a retention scheme.
Yes.
And you know what? Those sly little mofos at PlayStation, they would have saved so much money. I have a feeling, and I know it's like a conspiracy theory, but again, I'm putting my business hat on. I have a feeling when they acquired them, they always intended to trim that much fat so they could avoid paying that amount.
Oh, okay.
And I have a feeling they probably may have even intended to orchestrate some sort of control over the company with whatever, negotiations and stuff they played. Because if you have 1.6 billion or whatever, which is contingent on retention over 5 years, right? And then you cut 20% of the workforce straight away. You telling me that isn't a play to save yourself money? Come on.
That's a big money saver.
Absolutely it is. They don't want to pay that 1.6 billion in retention over 5 years. That's why they're just cutting people now. They're trimming the fat, and whatever's left there, they're going to, remodel essentially.
So let's switch over, because it's we're almost at the 2 hour mark and we haven't got the Death Stranding yet. I'll start with Wooly, because I know, Wooly, I do want to give you the microphone here because this seems to be your forte. And don't you run off yet, Death Singer, because whether you played a game or not, which I don't believe you have, I do want to get your take. It's so great to have Death Singer. Death Singer, I want to get your take, even if you never pick up a controller to play it ever. But Wooly, I was saying this earlier. I'll let you get into the visuals and things of that nature. But one of the things that I want you to keep in mind when you're giving your early descriptions, again, no spoilers, is what are some of the quality of life things that really enhanced? I've got a few here that I'll list, but I want to hear yours first. What really is making Death Stranding 2 not only shine over the original, but getting some people who wouldn't play it before excited that they're playing it now?
So the thing about Death Stranding 2 that I think is done incredibly well is that it's not messy. There's a lot more stuff in it.
Thank you.
It doesn't feel like Spider-Man 2, where it's just unnecessary, like beams of light in the sky and the city looks messy and just features for the sake of features. Sometimes especially with a game like Death Stranding, less is more.
You're saying
so
the less is more, yes. Yep.
But how did they go about keeping the spirit of the first game, but making the gameplay a lot more engaging? Well, there's a lot more variables, a lot more different types of dangers, different types of BTs. You also have more ways to avoid them, fight them, overcome challenges. So it gives you more agency over the gameplay while simultaneously presenting more challenges for you to explore options on overcoming. So it is, in every sense of the word, an improvement in both of those areas.
Yes.
But the heart of the first game is still very much there. Let me tell you, I had tears running down my cheeks after the first 30 minutes, after the first initial cutscene. It completely, within the first hour, I was like, it just got me right on.
Now, is it? Let me interject. I'll interject only to ask you more questions, Wooly, not to take the microphone away. But did you feel those emotions more because? And listen, I happen to be. You guys know this. You've been listening to me for a long time. I'm a big Walking Dead fan. I've been watching Norman Reedus since I want to say 2011, 2010, from Walking Dead and all the way through Daryl Dixon and that series. Now, also, what was it? Ride with Daryl Dixon as well. Ride with Norman Reedus. Pardon me. So. My point being is that did those kind of feelings, did you, because he always plays a very standoff, very independent individual. By the way, guys, this is not a spoiler. It's legitimately the minute you turn the game on. The minute you turn the game on, the very first scene. Him and what was his BB at the time, now Lou, have formed that bond. And like you can see where he's almost content not being a porter anymore and just being a father.
Yeah, and being a dad now, I relate to Sam differently to how I related to him in the first game.
Yeah.
The first game broke me, towards the end, and I wasn't even a dad at that time. So now, just making the decision to, go through it. It's the first half an hour, Mooch. Can I say it? About the decision that you have to make.
I think that's fair. I don't think that's a problem. It's literally this. It's just your first time heading out for your first mission. Yeah.
So you have your first mission and you got to make a choice. Do you leave behind your whole life, the reason why you breathe, your little girl? And I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to. It was agonizing to say okay, and it's like. It was hard to do that. So straight away, you're invested emotionally in this game. But what I think is incredible is that Kojima has found a way to polish to a degree that I just can't quite believe. Like, to put it this way, he spent at least 6 years on this game, right?
Yeah.
At least 6 years. He already had the skeleton, whereas before he had to create the skeleton. So he spent 6 years. Where the first game, he did it in 3 years.
Right.
After receiving the engine. He spent double the amount of time whilst having a head start. So trying to put that into perspective, guys, that's what we're talking about here in terms of the final product of Death Stranding 2 compared to the first game. It really does. I mean, people have said it before, and it's the first time that I can agree with that kind of tagline. It makes Death Stranding 1 look like a proof of concept.
That's a very good point. And, the one thing when you said it was less busy, the one thing that you took it in a different direction and kind of critiqued a bit of what Spider-Man has with, and I know what you meant by that, but I do agree with that. But the one thing that I was asking, and I was actually saying this out loud in the house when I was playing Death Stranding 1, was I said, the environment in Death Stranding 1, say what you will about it, right? But there was like a million rocks, right? This time, and I understand the terrain's different. We're in a different part of the world, but it's now a lot more easier to climb and run. Now, I haven't, maybe I'm going to reach an area where it's going to get just as crazy, but I think that Kojima, the one thing about Kojima, Wooly, is he's very strict in the way that he does things. And you saw that article that came out that he said he did a play test, people liked it, he went in and changed it. He didn't want that many people to love it. He's an artist. So The thing about it is, though, I like the fact that they made certain things so the terrain is a lot more easy, accessible. It does have different challenges now to get through, so it's not easier. There's different challenges. The other thing is like the map, right? The map I like better. I also like the fact that it shows the levels of terrain. And I like the way that you handle your cargo. The cargo now is no longer, you grab it, you have to decide where you put it, and then you have to hold. In the first one, you had to hold down X, and it would and then it would link. Now it's just you put that there, you're done.
Just the typical quality of life improvements are there, 100%. But then in terms of like gameplay mechanics, it's more intuitive. So with Death Stranding 1, there was a level of sandbox kind of. I wonder if I can do this, and oh yeah, I can. That's great. Like, but it was very much again proof of concept.
Right.
Now you can do so much more. Like, for example, to give you an idea, so you can now attach 2 ladders together to make the ladders far longer and it opens up opportunities to scale things far higher and cross chasms far wider and it opens up opportunities for escape and espionage as well, and different gameplay variants, right? But there was one situation where there was this enormous cliff. I needed to get out. I just defeated some enemies. It's like one of the first little bases you reach, and you're taking all these enemies out near the water. And on your way back, there's this huge cliff, and I was like, right, I have 2 ladders and an anchor. So I used my ladders, extended them both together, climbed up to the first lip of the cliff, and then I still had a long way to go. So what did I do? I collected my 2 ladders, dropped an anchor down, so that anyone else who goes to that cliff can now climb up the rope.
Yes.
And then once I dropped down the anchors, I reused my ladders a second time, which you can now do. And I climbed up to the top, and I collected my ladders again, not realizing that couldn't reuse them after the second time. So I dropped another anchor down. So I'd managed to use just 2 ladders to scale what needed 4 ladders, whilst also providing an anchor for whoever else makes it out. And I got a message off not Nico. What's his name? The Xbox guy who is playing Death Stranding a lot. Is it Nico? Yeah, Nico. Nico Mueller. He's a good mate. He's a good mate of mine, and I'm just having a brain blank for some reason, forgetting his name. And he messaged me going, "Bro, when I needed it, an anchor was there from you, and I had nothing, and I thought I'm gonna have to reload my save, and your anchor was there, and it got me out of a really bad spot." I was like, I bet that's that very
Wolfie
anchor,
Woolley, I gotta ask you a question, Woolley, because people have asked me this, and maybe you know this, or Nib, one of you guys might be able to answer this. How is it that certain people's, whether it be the anchor or whether it be the ladders or it be anything that you're building in Death Stranding, the roads, in the future or whatever, how is it that we will see some? Is it based upon the server that you're spawned into? Is it a repeat server that you're spawned into constantly, so you'll see the same people leaving these things and appreciating your likes and things like that with signage and things of that nature? Or no, it's random and good luck finding somebody that
I don't think it is random. I think because I see a lot of people who I know or who are in my friends list, etc. So I think it must collate based on who you have in your friends list and probably proximity with people near you or whatever, or who you played with before or whatever, things like that. Because I see too many people that I am familiar with for it to. How many copies? Sorry.
That's okay.
If you think like how many copies would this? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as big as people think in terms of sales, because I still think it's quite a niche genre. But let's just say like it sold 2.2 million, right? That's still 2 million people. And if it really was randomized, there is no way Nico would ever see Woolly's, anchor. That just wouldn't happen. The probability of it is.
You know what I think it is? I think Kojima throughout the map, he has pool areas, priority areas. So there's little zones, right? Little cloud zones. And in those zones, it will prioritize friends if friends have placed anything within those areas. But if not, then it will just get a random. Say there's Kojima decided, oh, here's a cliff. We're going to prioritize this zone. So any placements that are ladders, whoever's placed a ladder, someone will see it, all ladders in this area will kind of pop up on somebody's game. So I think that's what they do. They specify, and then they just kind of for the sake of I don't know whether they regionalize the servers or what, but basically I can only imagine that's how they do it. Where the rest of them, not all of the world it's not all of the map, but it's specific pocket areas that are higher priority than others in terms of this is a tricky area. We're going to kind of focus on getting whatever objects are placed, especially bridges in this area or zip lines in this area. And if for friends relating to a person on their friends list has placed a bridge or a zip line in this area, then it will show up in their game.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's interesting you say that because Breath of the Wild was actually designed in a similar way, where they essentially have hot zones.
That's
And
what I mean. Hot zones.
yeah. So they essentially have like data they analyze from the playtesters, and they said they have so much iteration of playtests, and they essentially collate the hot zones, what kind of struggles people are having, what where people are spending most of their time, where they're stuck, etc. And they adapt the gameplay models around those specific hot zones. So I assume it's a similar thing with Death Stranding, and which is funny enough, like even that in itself, like people don't realize how much work and design and iteration goes into that, because it's almost like a scientific model. Like it's so advanced to be able to balance that and curate it effectively to be fun or not too easy, and maintain the challenge and all the rest of it. But yeah, like it's an interesting thing. Like this, I will say, like about Death Stranding, because it's so funny and I find it hilarious, and I don't I'm not berating those people, because when you see gameplay and people are like, this is everything, and some people look at it and they're like, this looks boring as fuck. Like, what is this shit? Why do you even like this?
Yeah, it's like, and yet they rate games where all you're doing is the exact same things.
Yeah,
but
like they'll play a Western RPG where you
they
walk
call it a
without
walking simulator, and it's like, well, in Death Stranding 2, you walk, you run, you jump, you can zip line, you can go on monorails, you can ride
vehicles,
bikes, you can ride vehicles,
exoskeletons. Yeah,
exosuit, you can jump off mountains and have flipping like little mini jetpacks to kind of soften your landing just before you hit the ground. Called stabilizers. You have all of these things. You have guns. You have shooting mechanics. And it's like, yet you call it a walking simulator because the journey is made difficult for you. And it's like, well, all you do in Fallout is you walk, you talk, and you shoot.
yeah.
And it's
So
like, oh, mate, it annoys me.
So here's the thing, right? I will say I've heard some people saying you actually have to play it to understand, and I do agree with that, because the thing with Death Stranding, right, is it has turned the basic fundamental of traversal into a sort of strategy in itself. Itself, it's a gameplay mechanic. Like if you're carrying too much, your weight, how you're walking, how you're stepping, you got to balance your weight. If you're walking on heavy terrain, you've got to grip differently. Like is it slippery? Is it high? Like what's the weather? What's the wind direction?
It's like so, and I don't have the tweet in front of me or from X, but like somebody had said, it's a bunch of different simulators all in one.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, look at the popular. I can't believe how popular some of these simulators are. Right? I mean, they're insane.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? Like, if you are actually a gameplay first person, ironically enough, this game that looks really dull
is one of the most systems and gameplay heavy games
Yeah.
there is.
Yep.
Like compared to the vast majority of cinematic and RPG
I was going to say, outside
games,
of the cinematic part of the game, Nib, it is
Yeah.
the most active you are as a gamer. Between the handling the
Exactly.
cargo, the missions, right, the terrain, the items you have to get through it. It's and then there's the combat, which is enhanced.
literally every aspect. Like, you know how in other games and RPGs, right, you may pick up a billion items and then you're over encumbered and it's like, what am I going to drop and what am I going to keep, right? With this, when you pick up items, it's like, where on my body am I going to place this thing in order to make sure I'm still balanced? Is the weight too high? Is it going to make me lurch forward? Is it going to make me lurch back? Like, you know, if I put it on top, will it get eroded quicker from the timefall rain, which is like acidic rain? Or should I put it lower in my backpack and that way it won't...
Right.
You know,
Nib,
then it's like, do I put it in a case? Or do I keep it on my hook so I can easily access it? Like, there's so much strategy and there's so many systems around the simplest things. And obviously, unless you play it, you wouldn't know that.
There was this new mechanic with timefall shelters. That they have an anti-BT gas. They're very limited in supply, so once it shoots out the gas, it's kind of that's it really. It's a one-off thing. And I was at this spot where there was one of these really dangerous BTs called a spotter, right, or a watcher, and they're really they're a bit spooky. They make the sky glow red and their eyes glow, and it's like whoa, you know. And anyway, I was in this really narrow chasm, and there was a BT right, literally at the end of this chasm, and I had to get there, and I had a gun, but like guns don't stop them. They whittle away the health, but it'll still charge me and get me before I kill it. And I was like, what do I do here? How do I go about this? And there was a timefall shelter right at the end of that chasm, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And I sprinted, and it heard me, and it spotted me, and it's dead spooky, and it starts you hear its footsteps getting louder and faster, and it's charging at me, and I dive under the timefall shelter, and the gas immediately sprays out and blasts it, and it shrivels back, and I have time to equip my gun. I just start pelting it as it's temporarily stunned by the gas, and I destroy it. And then shortly after that, I had no bullets left. I had a PCC, which is what you create timefall shelters and generators and bridges with, right? And I had one of them in my backpack in my cargo. I thought, right, I sprinted, attracted the BT, placed down my timefall shelter, sprayed it and stunned it, and then used that opportunity window to keep running. And it's like the strategy and the payoff was immense. It was so rewarding. So my heart was in my chest. In my chest. Obviously, it's in my chest. My heart was in my throat. And it's just awesome. It's so immersive.
You know what you've described? This is one of the things right about it that is so impressive and is so kind of unlike a lot of games. Like when you're kind of in that atmospheric moment where there's like a beautiful vista or a landscape, and you know Kojima chooses some really cool music to vibe with.
The music,
and you're just
come on,
taking it all in.
You got to take that music. It's funny that's and don't get me wrong, I'm paying attention to this and the chat at the same time. But I think Nib is the first person that mentioned the music as you're just going through.
Oh my god, yeah,
insane!
It's amazing.
So
better than the first. Dare I say?
It is. And you have moments like that, right, where you're just like, because let's be honest, like what is gaming? Gaming is escapism, right?
Yeah.
All entertainment that we watch is escapism. Yes, it is also to entertain, but some of it is just to take you away from life's shit, right? And when you're playing this and you have those moments, there is like a kind of euphoria.
Nib.
Like, oh my god, I'm at
Nib. Let me ask you. Nib. Let me ask you a question. You always say, Mooch. Let me ask you a question. Nib. Let me ask you a question specifically.
Yeah, go on.
Because of what you just said. Do you feel this game is more catered to an old, not when I say older, I do not mean old. I mean an older audience because of certain things that you just said. Like there's times you guys see right on the screen right now. I love my Warzone. There's times I get amped up. I get up on Saturdays, which I'm going to be streaming. Saturday, Sunday mornings, I get up. I play Warzone, man, and I love it because I got that energy. I just want to play, right? And I want to be. It's intense. I want gunfire, bang. But then there's times like tonight and after the show, and I get home, and sometimes I don't get home from work till late, and you go to the gym or whatever it is, and you sit there, and the way that you can use your mind in the game, and like you say, it's calculated in how you want to play, how you want to derive your route, how you want to stack your equipment to survive rainfall better, how you're going to prepare yourself on fabricating these different things so that you can, right? And the music and the dialogue, and I even got to give credit. I know not a lot of people, Norman Reedus does a phenomenal job of blending this all together. Do you think that is a certain, there's maybe is a certain age up?
I'm gonna be really hot takey here, and I might offend a few people. But YOLO, I'm just gonna be honest, right?
Go for it.
You know how there's people who like a Michael Bay movie they'll love, right? A Marvel movie they will love, but they will never go to the cinema to watch something more astute or that like an Oscar nominee. Yeah, an Oscar nominee type vibe, right? Something that's slower, that's more methodical, that's about writing, that's like characterization, mood, cinematography, etc. Like without being bad, they just do not have the patience or the appreciation for it. Like I don't know if it's a culture thing, like they're not cultured enough to enjoy something that is of that artistic integrity, right? They need the constant thrill and the
thrill,
the shoot bang bang or whatever, right? And Death Stranding is like that encapsulated, but it just happens to be in a AAA package, right? Even though it is a AAA package, don't get it twisted. It is very much like an independent game in its vibe, in its artistry, and in its it's very quirky. And like you said, it is a lot slow paced. And while there are moments that Wooly described where it's high octane, it's tense, it's thrilling, it's dangerous, it will scare you, but other times where it's more about taking it in and just absorbing the atmosphere and the vibe. And I don't think this day and age, like a lot of people have the patience for that kind of thing. They need constant, the carrot on the stick thing with multiplayer, right? They need they need action. But the only thing I will say is when I've noticed a lot of people when they actually try the game who write it off, when they realize how much gameplay systems are involved, even in the most mundane things, even they get satisfied.
So,
but it depends. If you do like strategy and simulation type aspects of gameplay, you will take a lot from it. If you're someone who just needs constant action and explosions and stuff like that, it probably is not going to be.
So now TLDR, Mooch, TLDR is from Nib is that Death Stranding 2 is the Dune 2 of video games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm glad you said that because Dune is one of my favorite movies. Like Dune 2 and Dune 1. You don't even want to know.
This is the Dune 2 of video games.
I don't care if it's the last thing I do. I'm going to make sure that I get through. I think, and it's my fault. So, Nib, I'm not critiquing it. I'm not. I think I'm blaming myself. I've tried to watch Dune now about 3 times. I have put it on way too late. I think I put the movie on like almost 12:30 in the morning, and I'm like, I'll watch this, and I fell asleep. That's a me problem because it just didn't capture me that way. But I think there's so much greatness and talent there that I need to give this thing the true, like 8 p.m. evening, prime time for watching a movie, and give it the full, attempt.
The thing is, Mooch, and I will say this to everyone, right? Like this isn't. Sometimes you do actually have to be in the right mood or frame of mind for a type of media, right? Like there are times where me and my wife will sit down and we don't want a super deep film that we have to think too hard about. We just want something stupid, light, entertaining, right? It's okay to want that. There are times for those kind of things, but so it might just be a case that your frame of mind, maybe you were too tired because this is like a movie where, again, it's a lot of the world building and a read between the lines. There's an economy of words. So the characters aren't saying, I'm talking about June here. The characters don't say much, but in the little that they say, there's massive amounts to take away from it. Like even in one line there could be so much, but you just kind of have to unravel the layers, right? So I mean, Denis Villeneuve, he's one of my favorite directors, and I can't believe that he is going to be directing James Bond. Like James Bond is one of my favorite.
I saw it. You were excited about that.
Oh my lord, when I saw that I was like, and Death Stranding 2 is out as well, and I get this news, like, oh my god, we're winning right now. We are winning.
So I have a few. So listen, what a great super chat by Babor. It's going to be perfect to get Death Singer really ramped up. And I have a question also from Art Vandalite earlier I'll get to. Andy Hart says, was considering getting a PS5 Pro for Christmas, but looking at Death Stranding 2 on base PS5, I'll wait more than good enough for me. So Andy, are you saying he's saying the PS5 base PS5 was impressive, if I'm reading him right. He said, but looking at Death Stranding 2 on base PS5, I'll wait more than good enough for me. I'm not sure if he's saying he wants to go run out and grab a PS5 Pro now, or he's happy with his base. But anyways, Andy Hart, thank you for this.
Well, just to reply to his super chat, bro, I've been playing Death Stranding this entire time, Death Stranding 2, in quality mode. I didn't realize it was 30 FPS. I genuinely thought it was 60 because I don't know if it's a high FOV or what, but it's just buttery smooth. It's really smooth gameplay, and it was preset to quality, and I just started playing it, and I played 31 hours.
Yes.
31 hours at 30 FPS, right? And it's super nice. So I've heard that on the base PS5, 30 FPS quality mode are very similar between both consoles. So you really
is
are
quality,
getting...
Willie, is quality mode on the PS5 Pro still a lock 30, or is it is it a 40?
I don't know.
I'm
hoping it's 40. I'm guessing it's 40, but everywhere I look, both Digital Foundry, even NXG's performance review, they say locked 30. So I'm a bit confused because I'm telling you, Mooch.
I tried both. No, I tried both as well, and quality does not feel like 30 in this game.
It doesn't feel like 30
no,
at
it
all.
doesn't.
So I'm a little confused by that. But what I will say is, if that is the case, then you will have an absolutely brilliant experience in quality mode on base PS5 because it's a very, very comfortable 30.
Cobra Kai says, is this PC gamer? That was a very funny article. So Babor says this, and I want to get Death Singer's point. Babor says, when you talk about graphical density, nothing on the 5090 comes even close with this much gameplay in an open world. PC Gamer says, PC Gamer, this is what I talk about. Best games never release on PC. Well, this game will be coming. Now, Babor gets you're going to get everybody all riled up, Babor. Death Singer, before you answer the 5090 part, because of course I know I can already hear your answer from knowing you this long, but I want to hear...
I only have one answer.
What's that?
No game on PlayStation could top it.
Oh.
Cyberpunk 4K maxed out path tracing. Good night. Thank you. See you later.
It doesn't, and I'll tell you why. Because even though the lighting may be spectacular, all the assets, all the textures, everything else is still the same. So the thing is, even on Ultraman, I've seen it literally running the highest.
I play it on GeForce Now Ultimate.
Yeah, you do.
On max settings, and it looks great. It looks impressive, but it's still Cyberpunk 2077. It's not. Yeah, it doesn't have a patch on Death Stranding 2 visually.
No, it doesn't, because the thing is with Death Stranding, and I'm glad we're going into the tech side of things, right? Mm-hmm. Like from the character models, the subsurface scouring, the detail of literally the granularity of even every geometric aspect of his nose, the geometric density in the environment, the shaders they use, the lighting. At times it almost looks kind of photorealistic. It's insane. And yeah, it's a level of fidelity that straight off the bat, literally immediately, you're just holy fuck balls. The opening scene, I was
it is impressive.
My Lord, and the thing is, I
go drive in the desert in Cyberpunk. Go drive in the desert area in Cyberpunk, and drive in the desert area on Death Stranding 2. And try and tell me with a straight face that Cyberpunk.
Although actually, we also have to, because we can't compare the two, because the Cyberpunk is rendering a shit ton of NPCs, cars. It's a living, breathing city.
Yes.
Death Stranding 2, fucking open plains with a couple of people and some simulation. Death Stranding 2 is clearly a GPU game, not a CPU game, because it doesn't have as much simulation as a Cyberpunk.
No, it does have loads.
No, it has huge simulation.
Yeah. We just explained
even the wind affects the cargo on your back. The wind twists you. It doesn't just push you sideways. It twists you if the wind is hitting a high cargo stack on your back. It's so realistic, bro. It's ridiculous.
The thing is, do that, but now do it in the city with 1,000 NPCs and 100 cars.
Yeah,
driving
but
around.
you don't do that in Cyberpunk. You don't do that in Cyberpunk.
You're in the city most of the time in Cyberpunk.
Yeah, but you don't have wind. You don't have
No,
wind
I
effect.
do understand
You
what
don't
he's
have wind
saying.
speed.
I do understand what he's saying, but I will say, like, the thing is, like, you know, the NPCs, they have like subroutines, right? And they kind of repeat over and over again. Same in like Spider-Man, etc., etc. So yes, all of that is still very CPU intensive and advanced, but don't get it twisted. Guaranteed this is as well, because in any single circumstance, there can literally be probably like hundreds of variables. I'm talking hundreds, because everything from weather, from the surface you're on, from the slippage of the surface, whether it's wet, if it's cold, if it's like, you know, is it sand, is it snow, what's the density, what's the depth, like when your tread, what your boots, how worn are your boots, what's your stamina, like there are literally countless different variables in any moment, to the degree where even if you just are walking forward, it might not be clear. Like you might have to balance your weight on the left side, and then on the right side, you know, where you placed a particular item, because it's 5 kg and it's on your hip instead of your shoulder, you know. So trust me, it's like super systems heavy. It's just in a different kind of way. Like obviously, you know, with Cyberpunk, it's more like RPG systems, and with Death Stranding, it's more sort of like I would say a combination of physics and simulated systems.
Yeah, so shout out to Andy Hardy. Says, I'm happy, just for clarification, Andy and Babor, thanks for this. He says, I'm happy with the base PS5 Death Stranding 2. And Babor said, I meant on release year, sloppy seconds. So Babor was talking more about the year it released. So saying, yes, it has turned into a magnificent game in Cyberpunk, but it did not release that way. And he's saying that, you know, Kojima, with the things and the attributes that Woolly's saying and Nib, that it's quite impressive. But Death Stringer, you know, performance and 5090s aside, you know, you do like, you love your RPGs, and I'm not saying that this is that by no means. I'm just saying to you that it's not. No, but it does give you do have more, the dialogue. There's dialogue conversation now between Sam and the folks that he runs into in the world. And I could see it being a real stressful at times, but peaceful game. I don't necessarily think this is a game that you would just turn away. I think you might enjoy Death Stranding 2. Death Stranding 1, maybe not, but 2, with all the enhancements, and there is much more battle in this one, Death Singer. I don't know if you should dismiss it as quick.
I will, because it's like, for bringing up like the strategy and having to do all, like, I play Stellaris, which is a 4X game. People want to talk about game systems, right? You have no fucking idea. Like, this game is, soon as you spawn into the game, like your mind is going 50 moves ahead, right? And not only that, you then have the.
You would be fine with Death Stranding then. You would be fine with Death Stranding system.
No, but like I would prefer to do this because this is on like a galactic scale. It's a strategy game, right? It's I want to dominate my enemies and I want to beat you into the ground, and that's what it's gonna be. Like I'm not interested in what they got going on over there, but I do like a hardcore strategy mechanics because. As I was saying, it's like you spawn in with 20 people, you have the AI, you have random shit going on all the time. You might get attacked randomly by aliens. It might be an extinction event that happens halfway through, and the entire galaxy has to team up and stop it, or everyone just loses. Like, there's just so many different variables you need to make sure you're expanding. You need to decide on your strategy. You're like, do I form an alliance with this dude? Do I trade with this dude? Do I become subservient to this dude? They were just like a huge array of things that you just have to keep track of, and that's my kind of vibe. So I see that in Death Stranding, but it's just when I look at the game, it doesn't give me anything. Like, I have no feelings towards it. Like, when I see it, I'm like, it looks pretty. It looks really good.
Man, you know, it's funny because I feel like Death Singer is not alone. I don't think Death Singer is alone with that. Wooly, I think a lot of people feel that way, but I also have to say this, and this is coming from someone, Death Singer, when I first saw the game, I was like, this probably is not for me. It's interesting once you start to play the game and you get into it. There's a lot of things going on as far as you the gamer. You are constantly engaged, you know, and I understand some people may say, well, come on, Mooch, there's a lot of cutscenes. There's some, and some can be lengthy, but majority are not that lengthy. And
it's not that cutscene heavy, actually.
It's not. I didn't think it was that. No, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah. No,
The only thing that's heavy is during a small period of the game.
That's
you go back to your home base a lot, and the home base there's these little tiny miniature clips where you go to your bed, you sleep, then you wake up, then then you leave, and so it's like 4 or 5 really quick cutscenes that you can skip. And when you're doing a lot of those things that warrant those cutscenes in close succession, it does sometimes feel like you're just skipping a lot of clips. Quite often, even to eat in your room is a cutscene, and it's like you just skip it. So that is the only bit. The rest, in terms of the actual story delivery, they don't drag and drag and drag. They don't abuse your time. So and they're really, really well executed.
Wooly, go ahead, Death Singer.
No, that was me. Yeah.
Just the chat. It's like, see, thing is, it's like nobody. You say I'm hated, right? And it's just not my kind of game for me. But if I told you, did you play Stellaris? You'll say, no, that's not my kind of game. It's the same fucking shit.
Absolutely. No, Death Singer.
Death Stranding, but Death Singer, that would make sense if you didn't play third-person action adventure games, which you do on your PC.
Well,
you do all the time.
The problem is it has PlayStation written on it.
Yeah, that is it. Because you play those kind of games all the time on your PC.
We had.
How
many conversations have we had?
Because I poo-poo. Like, see, if it was really about that, I would have played Hellblade 2 and I would have hyped it up, right? If it was really about that, I would have done that.
Hellblade is an Xbox game.
Yeah, but guess what?
And Hellblade isn't
also
a story action story game. It's just most of the story with a few tiny action games. I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that a 4-hour vertical slice experience that's more of a tech demo than a game you would have played that. No, you played Control, yes? You played Control, yes?
No, I haven't played Control. No,
have you not?
You haven't played Control?
You didn't play Control?
No.
Control. I'd say Control. Control's phenomenal.
So you don't like Remedy games?
I got the platinum in Control. That was a phenomenal game.
Amazing game. That was my game of the year.
It's like I like what I like, but then people go, "Oh, you just hate because it's PlayStation." So why did I love Ghost of Tsushima? That's a PlayStation game.
Because you gave it a try. That's why.
That's a PlayStation game.
Because you gave it a try. If you gave Death
that's what I'm saying. That was where I was going, Death Singer.
It's not. It's not. Because when I saw Ghost of Tsushima, that interests me. I like Japan. I like samurai. I like ninja. I like the whole aesthetic. That's a vibe. When I saw that game, that's a vibe. That gave me, if anyone remembers Tenchu back in the day, that gave me Tenchu vibes. I'm like, I can vibe with this.
Oh my god, I love Tenchu, bro. They need to bring that back.
They need to bring back Tenchu. But anyway, that's another thing. But thing is, it's like, I was like, okay, I can vibe with this. This gave me a vibe. I look at Death Stranding 2, it didn't give me a vibe like Ghost of Tsushima did. Or if I look at Baldur's Gate gave me a vibe. But then if I look at, let's say, South of Midnight, that didn't give me a vibe. Like when I saw South of Midnight, I was like, it's cool, but I don't want to. It doesn't give me no.
Fine. To be honest, like that, play what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Like
here's a.
It doesn't matter what company makes it. It could be EA or Ubisoft. It's like, if you make a game that I don't have a vibe to, then I'm just not going to play.
No, that's fair. That's
use my time elsewhere.
Absolutely. So let me ask this question here from Art Van. Art asked this when the podcast started, and I said, Art, I'll ask it once we get there. And it's more for Wooly and Nib, just because they've played them both. So he says, Mooch, curious on yours and the panel's opinion. I only played 5 hours of the original Death Stranding. Can I just start with Death Stranding 2? He goes, now wait, there's more. He says, obviously the best answer. He says, Wooly, I know. He goes, obviously the best answer is play the first one. But will it mess up? He said, but will it mess it up starting on 2?
No, I think they've designed this knowing a lot of people won't play the original.
Nib.
You will, however. Yeah, then I'm just being dead serious here.
Yeah.
You will completely lose impact on the story elements and the story beats and the like what I would
point.
advise is if you didn't manage to get through Death Stranding 1,
Yeah.
you're going to put Death Stranding 2 down as well because you're not playing it right. And when I say you're not playing it right,
I don't agree with that.
Let me just explain why I say this.
Yeah.
Because if you know life completionist tasks by trying to get 5-star ratings with every single recipient before you move on to the next story beat, you will burn out. You will tire out. You have to save the side content for after you've completed the game and focus.
Do you know what I
on
think the
main story
difference is,
missions.
though, Wooly? And a lot of reviewers have said they didn't enjoy the first one and they loved the sequel. I must have read 7 reviews.
But that's the intro, though. That's the first 5 to 10 hours, and I get.
No. I mean the whole game. I mean they're talking about the whole game. They beat it, right? And I think the reason is because this one just has more diversity in factors and gameplay systems. So whereas the first one maybe wasn't as action oriented. Obviously, you could do that, and it did have that, especially later on in the game. This one, from the get go, is more sort of a balance and gives you more sort of leeway in how you want to approach it. And that's why I think there's people who may not want to play it a certain way. They're gravitating to this more because it's just that more diverse. In
I'm trying to think of another game that had a sequel like this where a lot of people didn't really give the first one a shot, but the second one's what kind of brought it to that popularity status. And I think this may get. And Wooly, believe me, I'm not taking away any of the. I know the love and admiration you have for the first one, so I'm not taking one bit of that away. But
it's more the story. The story.
Yeah,
the story.
I understand why. Well, I understand why Wooly's saying what he's saying.
I do too.
He loves it so much.
I do too.
But I actually think,
guys, I burnt out on the first game. I put it down for a year.
Yeah.
And I did not pick it back up, and I was disillusioned with it. It was after I picked it back up on Act 5, after a year of not playing it, and I thought, you know what? Screw all of this cargo. I'm going to throw it all into I'm just going to scrap all my side missions. I'm going to cancel them. I'm going to just curb the FOMO. I'm going to curb the OCD, and I'm going to go straight to my main objective. And that was the best decision I've made. One of the best decisions I've made in gaming, right? Because what followed were the main missions got better. They got so impactful. They got so there isn't a lot more systems in Death Stranding 2 that I've experienced yet compared to Death Stranding 1 in terms of, there's more going on. But what I mean is that the game is still extremely engaging with Death Stranding 1. It's extremely engaging. You just have to try to curb carrying all this cargo around, trying to make all these long journeys to pay peanuts to these dudes who give you a measly 1/4 star rating as a thank you for hours wasted. And it's like, don't do that nonsense. Just focus on the story, get to know the main characters, enjoy the experience, because you'll walk away a changed man.
Yeah,
and you'll be even more.
I will say as well,
Death
Stranding today is very different than when it was at launch. They've made a lot of iterations and updates or whatever, especially with the director's cut and new ways to engage, etc. New objects and transportation methods, etc. So I think I haven't actually played the director's cut, but it even reviewed much better than the first game. The director's cut.
There's a lot of disingenuous narratives, Mooch, about Death Stranding. Like, for example, why does Kojima put zip lines there? It just defeats the purpose of the journey. It's like, well, no, you still have to make the journey to place the zip lines, but he's just not expecting you to repeat the same journey over and over and over and over.
Right.
Again.
Exactly.
Which it's like you've experienced the journey, now move on. And it's like that's what I would encourage anyone who plays Death Stranding to do. Just move forward, keep moving forward. Stop going back to the flipping weatherman and the weather station and South Knot City dropping off cargo to reach 5-star rating. You'll find during the end game, you'll want to do those things after you've beaten the story.
And
you'll feel, and you'll enjoy it. You'll that will be your goal, and you'll enjoy every moment. But what you'll find is you'll find yourself jumping off mountains with these stabilizers leveled up to level 3, and they act as a decelerant and prevent you from hitting the ground hard. So you can jump off the top of that huge mountain in the middle of Death Stranding 1, and like it's so experimental. There are so many things in that game to love, but it's the story that's king, guys. It's the story.
Yeah.
Please play the first game for the love of all things gaming.
I'm not saying don't, but all I will say is if you play the first game, I think it's on all the it's on PlayStation Plus.
I
and
think
stuff.
so.
If you don't gel with it, don't feel like disillusioned in just jumping straight to the second one. Because again, there are a lot of people who did not enjoy the first, but who loved the second.
Yes.
Like literally, journalists that gave the first game like a 6 and a 7
are giving this one
other one a 10,
a 9 or a 10,
9
an 8.5.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's a lot of it is also to the people don't understand this. Someone in the chat, I can't remember who was saying it. They were saying it was Cobra Kai. Shout out to Cobra Kai. He says, people keep saying that Kojima is a visionary. I said, listen, let's not use the word visionary. I really do think he's an artist. And I think he kind of wants to be. I don't think he wants to be labeled at all. But if he did, I think he'd want to be labeled as an artist. He's definitely. His games are very different. It's unique. And again, I guess if you're going to sit there and say this is not my bag, and I've watched enough gameplay of it, I don't like it. That's fine. But the amount of engagement in this game, and when I say art, it's because I'm talking about the landscape. I'm talking about the art detail. I am talking about the music. I'm talking about the acting. I just, all of it does come together in a much, much more pure way in the second one than it did in the first. I do agree with Wooly that I think, the characters will mean maybe not as much if you watch. People in the chat are saying at least watch a recap. Well, yes. If you're dead set about not playing the first one, watch a recap. That's my other. So here's my. So let me ask you. But Nib, let me ask you a question though, because I have to say. Yeah. So when I did the stream, I went through the recap. Right. What did you both think of the recap? Do you think it was done elegantly and just the way it should have been, or do you think that there should have been more of a video recap versus the slide deck?
I think he intentionally left it light.
Yeah,
because I think for the new players, he also wants them to take from it, to learn and to still be surprised by certain aspects of it. They don't actually give away everything in the recap. That there's a lot they don't, sort of expand on, and I 100% think that is intentional because even players who are new to this are still going to get sense of surprise and this and that from some of the aspects, and I do think it was very, very, very intentional.
Interesting. What do you think, Wooly? Do you think that the slideshow? I call it a slideshow. The way they did it with having I always say his name wrong. Is it Del Toro who captioned it? Was the narrator
Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo. And I think that when it comes down to it, I think it was I think he did a great job. I was shocked. I really thought it was going to be a 1 to 3 minute. I didn't know how far in depth they were going to go. Video interpretation of it. Wooly, what did you think? Did you like the slideshow?
They did actually do a video interpretation of it, a 9-minute trailer a couple of days ago.
They did. Yes.
Summary trailer of the first game. And I don't think any recap does the first game justice if you've not experienced it.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the recap now, and it's great and all. But come on, guys, what are we doing here? You need to play.
No. I know.
That's not.
I am not going to beat around the bush. If you don't play the first game and you go straight into the second one, you're a dirty ass casual that Kojima was disgruntled by, which is why he tried to make the game less appealing to the dirty ass casuals. Right? You need to suck it up.
You know what, Wooly?
Listen to Papa Wooly. Listen to Papa Wooly right now, right? Get that game, re-download it.
Play the second one at all. Some people. Yeah. I think they might play the first and then be like, "Oh, I'm not really into this." That's why I'm saying, don't be afraid to jump into. The second.
Try it. And Wooly, by the way, nothing you said was wrong there. I think it's really funny.
The love of all things gaming, just you don't get bogged down with the side missions. I implore everyone. I've had over 20 people, including OT, right, come to me going, Wooly, you were so right. I scrapped the side missions. I focused on the story.
Yeah.
One of the best games I've ever played in my life.
Yeah.
I'm a changed man.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Thanks
an
for telling
absolute. You guys know this. I'm like a moth to the light when it comes to any time they put an extra quest out there for me. So you guys realize that I don't think it ever ends. Don't the quests, when you go to the terminals and you're done doing the orders for Sam and there's other orders there, like those orders continue to come up. I must have done 5 million side quests in the first one and I burned myself right out. Out. And But here's my question. Don't you think that they should, after you do 2, 3, 4, whatever, I don't care what the number is, 7, 10, after a while, shouldn't the terminal stop providing the small quests for the porters or no?
Yeah, I think they should. Yeah.
I wish they would.
Well,
I don't like that
there is a limited number of main quests. There is a limited number of standard.
No, he's talking about
standard orders. There's a limited number of standard orders. And with some, I have ran out of standard orders.
Oh, you have? You've gone to some and they're... Yeah. Okay, I thought one I did indefinitely, and it felt like it was... Every time I finished, they were like, another order is there for you at the terminal.
Yeah. To me, it felt like it went on forever too. I will just say one other thing. This is kind of to Dessinger, right? I don't care that he doesn't, it doesn't like the vibe of this or whatever. The only thing I would say, right, is because I often hear people talk about like they want unique or innovative or different types of games. But then when I look at the track record of the games they play, they're just playing the same type of games that they've always played, right? And I would say, like, and this is to like the broad audience as well, if you truly do like unique and innovation or whatever, you would be playing a game like Death Stranding 2. You would be playing a game like Split Fiction. Like, these are the games that are coming around right now that actually do break the AAA mold and are completely distinguished from everything else, and you're not playing them. So when you say like you want this or you want the industry, you want people to try different things, personally, I can't really put that much validity to it unless you're playing these types of games.
Oh, no, but then again, you can enjoy that. But if a game doesn't vibe with me, why am I going to put 60 hours of my life or whatever
I agree, but it does mean... I agree, but it does mean you're not actually after unique and different.
Well,
you want
I am.
what appeals to you only.
I play a wide variety of things. Like, it used to just be a certain niche back in the 360 days, and then it's always been something different, like strategy games are all different. Like, everyone thinks strategy games are the same thing. There is a shit ton of different, all of them vastly different. Like, none of them really play the same. Like,
but it's still a strategy genre, though, right?
Yeah, it's still in the same genre, but that's like people who love shooting games. Like, they're going to play Call of Duty and Fortnite and whatnot. Call of Duty is a different game to Fortnite, but
I know, but I get what you're saying. But they cannot say they want innovation and uniqueness in the AAA space if all they're doing is playing different shooters. They actually don't. What they want is different styles of the same thing that they love. They don't actually want differentiating things.
What you want is new things. Like, before Stellaris came along, there was nothing like it. It revolutionized the 4X genre.
And there's nothing like Death Stranding either.
Right, exactly. But
there's nothing like it. There's nothing like It Takes Two or Split Fiction.
The thing is, I enjoyed Split Fiction. We played it co-op. Shout out to Kofi in the Discord. Like, we played it co-op. It was a fantastic time. Like, I enjoy these unique experiences, but then at the same time, it's like, if
did you enjoy Metal Gear Phantom Pain?
No, I didn't. I fell off Metal Gear at that time. But the thing is, it's like, you look at it. What if I'm going to force myself to play a game? I'm automatically going to hate it. Like, I'm not going to enjoy the experience because I feel like I'm forced to play this game.
I think we every week we kind of get on your Dessinger. I know Nib's point, and he's saying with the different types of games and saying you want to experience. I think you should at least experience it when it's for you on sale or you get a chance to play it. But I will say this much. Let me ask this question, and Wooly, I always love hearing your answer, but unfortunately I already know your answer. So let's assume the rest of the year there's nothing else coming out, because there's Ghost of Yotai, there's Borderlands 4, there's other games coming down the pipe, there's Mafia, but if it was just we end now and December was a month and a half away, Nib, would you go? Because you've played them both and you haven't finished it yet. So if you want to say I'm not going to answer now, that's fine. Expedition 33, and I think, as it stands, I think, and I think that Death Stranding 2 are going to be the two that are the primary head to head. What do you think here? How does this play out? You don't have to just say the winner, because I think it's a little bit more of a convoluted answer than just this.
So I will say, like, Death Stranding, the first several hours, like, super strong, right?
Yeah.
In fact, there's nothing I actually would change. Genuinely, there's nothing I would change.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it and not just like the gameplay, the atmosphere, the visuals. It really does feel like a next gen only, you know, showcase.
Yeah.
And even the sound quality, because I use I have like some pretty fancy headphones. I have the Sony MDR, I think they're called Z1000s. I don't know. They're like a few £1,000s, right? And usually I use them to game, but this time I've got my speakers. I still have a really good set of speakers, but obviously speakers are not necessarily as detailed and intricate as your headphones. But even from my speakers, the sound design is off the chain. But anyway, to go back to your point,
yes,
I don't think anything will top Expedition 33 for me. Like,
wow.
To me, that is an all-time great game, as in my top 20, and it's a 10 out of 10. And while this could be, I don't know, I just struggle to see it resonating with me the way that Expedition 33 did. But maybe by the time I finish it, I'll think different. But I just think personally, the characters, the gameplay loop, there's something about, like, it reminds me, harkens back to like the JRPGs of old, and that's what I grew up on. And because there's an element of an itch of mine that it scratches that reminds me of when I was a child. And maybe it's unfair to Death Stranding because, like, it's not going to have that nostalgia factor. But when I play Expedition 33, I feel like I'm playing the perfect modernization of what I always used to love as a kid.
You're reliving a memory in all its glory.
Yeah.
Except it's with all the, like, writing caliber of modern games. It's with
you know how they say nostalgia. You know how they say nostalgia is fickle and really it's fleeting, and you shouldn't revisit old games because the nostalgia is short lived, and then you're left with a disappointment. Well, Expedition 33 feels like the cure to that. That it's like you're experiencing nostalgia, but the nostalgia doesn't end, and the joy that you used to feel in your mind's eye, you're feeling in real time. So I get that.
So Cobra Kai has a point here. Now, he's not a big Kojima fan. He says, why is it that people see gameplay of Death Stranding or tried it and it's not for them? Does it mean you're playing it wrong, or you don't like deep stories? No, it's just boring. Kojima fans sound like Scientologists. So he thinks we're all drinking the Kool-Aid here, according to Cobra Kai. I guess from the outside, I guess my question would be, Cobra Kai, did you try it though? I mean, we used to have someone on the show a long time ago who say, Mooch, don't knock it till you try it. And, I mean, to a certain extent, if it was Tetris, like if Tetris 3 came out and you're like, Mooch, I don't like Tetris. It's Tetris. I mean, I guess I'm going to ride with you on that because, I mean, you've been gaming long enough. The man doesn't like Tetris. But this is interesting because it was one of those games, Cobra Kai, where I thought the same thing on the first one. And then I finally just said, you know what? I'm going to sit down and play it. And I played the hell out of the first one. And I do have to agree with Wooly. I did so many of the side quests to nauseum, and because I was trying to complete it and be a completionist and get, and I tired myself out, and then I went back to it a while after as well. And this one here, I'm not going to do the side quest to nauseum. I'm going to keep going through. I think if you just go through the game, it's almost like 60, 70 hours. I think to complete it is probably 110, 120. We'll find out when Wooly gets the platinum eventually.
I'm 31 hours in, and I've not even covered a fifth of the map.
That's insane.
I've just reached. I've not even reached the mountain yet. I've only just unlocked zip lines.
Wow.
I'm 31 hours in, and Yeah, it's mental, bro. Like the scale of the
Doesn't
map is.
appeal to me. That does not appeal to me. I feel like that would be too long in this world.
Yeah, but
That would be-
I have been doing the completionist stuff.
okay.
The only
Fair
reason
enough.
why I've been doing that is because I'm aware of when I've had enough now. Whereas before, I was playing Death Stranding, kind of feeling like compelled, like I had to kind of see everything through to 5 stars.
Fair enough,
And one thing I was doing wrong was I wasn't focusing on just one. I was focusing on like 4 or 5. So what would happen is you'd make 4 or 5, you'd deliver to 4 or 5 recipients with one truck full of stuff. And so you'd barely move the needle with all of them. And whereas if you just get a truckload for just one recipient, that you catapult that person to 5 stars straight away, and you get the goods from it. So that's what I would encourage you guys to do. Like, if you want to get the silenced variant of the tranquilizer rifle,
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Then use the take cargo from other players for delivery. They're like highlighted green, and there's loads of cargo and goods for the lone commander who gives you the rifle. So you can fill up a truck full of other people's deliveries that have failed.
Oh,
And it
Nice. Yeah,
and
that's a good
literally
tip.
you can deliver like 40 pieces of cargo for one person, and you get up to 4,000 likes, and it takes a maximum of 2 trips to
Sick.
5-star
What a tip.
5-star someone.
Nice.
So that's what I did for the lone commander. The problem is that others are rarer. Like, there's less items from other players left for other people, but it is a huge catapult to get like the silenced rifle and the silenced revolver, and that gives you a huge advantage in kind of the espionage action areas of the game. But you don't have 4 or 5 different targets with one truck load, because it's gonna just demoralize you, and you're not gonna make it. You're scattering too far. So I've learned all of these traits. I've learned all of these from all of these mistakes that I made with the first game, and it's like
that's a great tip.
Yeah,
I will say one thing to Death Stranding's benefit versus Expedition 33. I know the story in Expedition 33 is so unique and incredible, but there is something about Death Stranding where it is so creative and quirky. It's like he was on like mushrooms or something when he made it. Like, he must have actually been on drugs, because like
I agree.
even the smallest little thing, like it could be, you meet one of the characters and her bloody scarf is 2 hands that do shit and do thumbs up and light her cigarette, and it's little things like that, like everything.
You say that, but the graphical artist of Expedition 33, I also think were on shrooms at some point. Those worlds and those colors, right? Come on.
Yeah, bro. Like,
that's as trippy as it gets.
But it will be like whales jumping out of the.
That's true. Yeah.
So like, weird. And I love that, because you don't get this.
Come on, Kojima. Look at Kojima's. Look at his trademark stamp. Right, it's the astronaut, and then he slides the mask down, and then the virtual whale comes and splashes down, and he's on the moon. I mean, it's just.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Metal Gear has really quirky stuff in it, but this is next level. This is like he's been unchained.
He's unleashed at this point. He's out.
Whatever he thinks of, he's gonna put it in. You see the randomest shit, and I love that, because it's like, it's like you might see really creative stuff in different games, but not at this production. This is like getting like an art house film, but with a $500 million budget. You know, it's like
so
next level.
Let me ask this question to you guys. So Cobra Kai, appreciate the super chat. Cobra Kai says, since most of you are Kojima fans, are you excited for that Painkiller game or whatever that Xbox game is? I don't think it's Painkiller. I thought the Xbox game was called like OD or something, or
Yeah, it's OD.
OD, right? Yeah, I don't think it's Painkillers is a different game.
I'm not a horror.
I thought
I kind of stayed away from the occult. Like, Death Stranding's borderline for me, but like, I stay away from games that are kind of ghosts and demonic and stuff like that. I just
100%.
I don't know if OD That's why I wasn't going to buy a PT if PT had come out, despite it being made by Hideo Kojima. Like, I absolutely love Hideo Kojima, and I love the pseudo horror that he implements into the
I'm
games,
interested in OD.
but I wouldn't play like Silent Hill, for example. I wouldn't play games like that. So I just would not play OD, and I wouldn't play just like I wouldn't play PT. You know.
Eric, the producer, has verified OD overdose. So thank you, Eric, the producer. I appreciate that.
So I'm a giant pussy, but I still really like horror games. It's a weird thing.
I love horror games.
Yeah, I've had this discussion with my sister, right? And I always say to her, aren't we kind of fucked up for enjoying horror movies and media? Because if you think about it, it's a form of psychological torture. What we're saying is we enjoy torturing ourselves, right? Like, it's a weird thing. But yeah, there is a thrill factor and adrenaline to it. But yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to it. I just did want to say one thing to someone who said something in a chat. He said, why has everyone forgotten about KCD2 in the Game of the Year? I actually agree. I think KCD2, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is absolutely one of the best games of the year. The problem is this, I mean, it's not a problem, it's a great thing, is this year is just stacked with quality. Like, it's just so many good games. Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2, Split Fiction, what's it, early end of the year, Monster Hunter Wilds, and,
that's right. Monster Hunter Wilds will definitely be in the discussion. I know that nobody wants to hear this. Go ahead.
I don't think it will.
No, it doesn't deserve to be there.
When I think about it, it's like Monster Hunter Wilds had good reception initially, but it fell off. Like, even the biggest Monster Hunter fans I know, shout out to Nev in the Discord. He plays every single Monster Hunter game ever made. He's played them all. He is a massive fan of the franchise.
Yeah,
he's checked out.
Wow.
He's checked out.
Yeah,
I said the same on. I said the same.
Yeah, like Monster Hunter Wilds. See, the thing is, people came from Monster Hunter World, and they say Monster Hunter World is better than Wilds. Like, Wilds is far better.
Yeah, I
World.
think it's
I love World. Like, the expansion was fantastic, and see that's the thing. So I don't think he'll get there. I think Kingdom Come will, because it was, it's a bit unusual. Expedition 33 will be there. Split Fiction guaranteed is going to be there. That's a lot. You can lock that bitch in. Then Death Stranding 2 will probably be there. And then
guaranteed, mate. It's a lock. It's a lock.
Yes.
Like Split Fiction is the easiest lock of all time, and Expedition 33.
Like, I think front runners will be Expedition 33 and Death Stranding 2. That's just my prediction.
Well, it depends what else gets in, because if something like Ghost
of Yotai has a chance, and if there's a slot, still open, I know you guys are all gonna say no, and that's fine. I think you're probably right. I'm in the minority here, but I think Borderlands 4 gets a nom.
I don't. No,
well,
Borderlands 4 doesn't. No,
you don't think so?
Not this year.
Well, they usually let. Isn't there 6 games in the category?
Yeah.
You guys only really named. I mean, you've got. So let's you go through. So do you think Monster Hunter Wilds gets the nomination?
No.
Okay, so if they don't, then you have Expedition 33. These are the locks. I think Death Stranding 2's in there.
I think that new game recently. You were playing it, Wooly. What's it called? With the space kind of indie game. I don't know, when you're in that quirky world and you're kind of an explorer.
Oh, The Altars.
The Altars might. Oh wow, that might be a silent entry. Yeah, you're right there. If that's in there, then that's. But that's what I'm saying. If there's nothing like The Altars that sneaks in, there's a spot open. I think still, because you have Ghost of Yotai. Oh wait, Cobra Kai comes in with a big one here. You might be right. He says you're all wrong. Crimson Desert will win game of the generation. Well, I don't know about that generation.
No,
the gameplay looks so good. Marathon GTA 6 moved its release date to avoid it. All right, Cobra Kai. Apparently, he's a bit of a Crimson Desert fan. Shout to Cobra Kai.
It does look good. I can't deny it. It does look like a very good game. I'm excited for it.
I can't wait for Crimson Desert to come out, because it's
Ninja Gaiden 4 definitely. Ninja Gaiden 4 is going to be up there. Come on, let's be honest.
See, the thing is, though, if you count out 6, right? Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Death Stranding.
Is the new Onimusha this year?
No, it's not.
Split Fiction.
That's next year. That's 2026.
Split Fiction.
Onimusha. Right, so you have Expedition 33, Split Fiction, Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotai. That's 4, right?
Yeah.
Donkey Kong.
And then you throw, and then,
Oh
and then
yeah.
you throw Kingdom
Metroid.
Come Deliverance
Metroid
2
Beyond
in,
is the next one.
throw a Nintendo game, there's your 6. There we go.
Yeah. No, that you're right. You're right. Yeah. Borderlands is out. Borderlands is out.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, no way.
No
The
way.
only reason why I would give Death Stranding 2 the nod over Expedition 33, and no, it's not because I love Kojima and I wish he was my dad. It's
You have
because
this poster on your wall.
I don't have.
Photoshopped
I
to be
don't.
naked.
Listen, I've knocked the shrine down now, and I've turned his picture away from facing me whilst I'm in bed, so it's fine. But on a serious note, I think where Expedition 33 personally shines for me is the music and the story and the voice acting. Right, the gameplay is fantastic. It's brilliant. It's incredible. The combat is really engaging. But we fell in love with the characters and the world and the artistry and
Yeah,
and
that's
all
true.
it literally comes down to is basically like for like is the artistry, the music, the voice acting, the characters, the world. Well, which is better? And it's very neck and neck for me in terms of Death Stranding and Clair Obscur. So where I would vote for Death Stranding 2 is the gameplay, and it just tops it for me. And so, like for me, I think the sheer impressiveness of Clair Obscur is probably a greater achievement, considering the size of the studio and also the almost impossible coincidences and sheer luck and fortune that kind of fell on the humble team of nobodies who created this masterpiece. I think it's a success story far greater than Death Stranding 2.
Let me ask you a question, Willie. What is your favorite turn-based combat in any RPG or JRPG in history?
Divinity Original Sin 2. Or
Okay.
Clair Obscur is pretty up there.
Clair Obscur easily for me is number one.
Yeah.
And I've played other time-based RPG like it, but for me, the way they put it together, the flow, the drama, the kind of thrill of it, the visuals, the production, like it clears. And I just find it more engaging than any other time-based.
Oh yeah, it's by far the best turn-based
Input timing type.
Yeah, non-isometric RPG. It's definitely the best implementation of that mechanic. It feels like it's everything that Final Fantasy should have developed into.
I agree. New Deluxe is one of the greatest soundtracks.
It's a good point.
I listen to it. Oh, dude, that's how much I love it.
But please let this sink in, guys. Sorry, Dev Singer. I will shut up in a second. I promise. But let this sink in. The fact that I've not been super kind of like, it's Death Stranding all the way.
Yeah.
Shows
I'm
how
amazed.
incredible and like how much I love Clair Obscur and how impressed I am. The fact that I would even kind of like put it pretty neck and neck with Death Stranding 2 says everything. Like to me, if Clair Obscur won Game of the Year, I would think it was more deserved than Death Stranding because I'm biased for Death Stranding and I recognize that because I think Death Stranding 2, I just love the IP and there's an emotional attachment there. There's an emotional seat of bias there for me. Whereas Clair Obscur is just like, it's just, oh mate, it's just insane. But yeah, for me, my favorite game is Death Stranding 2. But I definitely think Clair Obscur is up there.
Nib, this is actually a question to you. I have a question for you because someone made a post. I tweeted out mine earlier. Someone made a post and it was their top 3 turn-based games of all time, right? Top 3. Your top 3. Now, for me, number 1, Chrono Trigger. Like, they will never be a better game. That was the perfect marriage of 3 goats all came together and made a masterpiece, right? So Chrono Trigger will always be number 1. And then I put Baldur's Gate 3 at number 2 because I still like that did it for me. But then 3, I went for Pillars of Eternity over Divinity. And then like Expedition would be my number 4. So what
Wow.
would be your top 3 turn-based games of all time? I'm curious. Top 3. 1, 2,
Top
and
3.
3.
But am I allowed to put Claire Obscura in it?
Sure.
Yeah, it's just your top 3.
Yeah, he put it as 4, so you can have it as in top 3. Sure.
That's actually easy for me. I would say, so Final Fantasy 7, the original.
Oh, yeah.
Claire Obscure, probably number 2, and number 3, probably Final Fantasy 6.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. What about you, Willie? A Mooch?
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna do these not in order. I'm old school, so you guys can laugh all you want. I just it's a fond memory. I'm gonna talk like Wooly. Final Fantasy 2. I think then I would say Claire Obscure as well. Expedition 33, and then just thinking out loud here. Honestly, I played it's another Final Fantasy game. I mean, you could say 7, or you could say I even enjoyed the original 7.
I love 8 as well, so I don't. It's really tough for me. But like those,
but there's a reason I say Final Fantasy 2. That's something that, like, again, I'm going back very, very far into the gaming essence. But like, that's just a game that back in the day when you bought Final Fantasy 2, which I did with my dad, my brother. Like, we would, like, legit just, like, you had the map that came with the game. We had the map laid out. We had just all these notes we would take. We would spend nights where we would just farm, right? We would just go out and grind and get the levels up and get the mages equipped and get them leveled up. And then we would go out there and we would just take on the biggest bosses. And we played that game over and over again. So I know a lot of people hearing me say Final Fantasy 2, they'll be like, come on, Mooch, get real. I understand. I'm not saying you guys probably have a leg up on that, but that game just holds so much sentimental value with the family. And when you say, how do you get into gaming? That was one of the first games that I played. I must have beaten that game at least 3 or 4 times through. And like I said, it's every, well, you know what it is? Honestly, it's just everything. Like the map that came with it, the booklet. I used to sit there and just read about each of the enemies, the details, the way that it was amazing. And then I would get the Nintendo Power and I would read even more further into it. I would get a book that was, I would buy, I'd ask for parents to buy a book that really got into the detail of the game and how it was created. And I have some of these books still. And it's amazing. That's the term. When I think turn-based, I think Final Fantasy.
If you play Final Fantasy 2 again today, do you think you still love it as much?
So that's a good question, because I've gone back to just kind of dabble to show my kids, and not as much. No. So I'm speaking more from the heart and nostalgia than I am speaking from today's perspective. No, Nib, I don't think I would have that same sentimental value today. But that's why I think that's one of the things I always say to people when people are like, "Oh, I want to go back and play this game. I haven't played it since I was a kid." I'm like, sometimes your memories should stay the way they are. You know what I mean? Like, don't always go back and think that the game you played 15, 20 years ago is going to hit that same way. Sometimes they do. So I don't want to ruin that for people.
I haven't done. Legitimately, I played it on my mobile a few years ago, and it still knocked me for 6. Crazy.
The thing is, Chrono Trigger did that, because I just recently replayed Chrono Trigger, and it still has the same charm, and understandably, because it's something that'll never happen again. Because you had Toriyama, and you had Hori, and then you had it's like you had the goats of Square Enix, the creators of Square Enix's goated franchises.
I'm gonna admit something now.
Where is Chrono Trigger on your list? Go on.
Okay, so this is going to upset him properly. Even though I've played all manner of JRPG, from Suikoden to Star Ocean to you name it, for even Vagrant Story, I never got around to play Chrono Trigger.
No! You had to play Chrono Trigger. No! Like, Chrono Trigger is a must classic for any gamer to play. Like, Chrono Trigger will blow your mind.
I know, but I was like, I think it's too old now. I think I need them to remake it.
That's the problem. Yes.
The thing is, like, it still holds up even if you play it today. I mean,
I'm looking forward to, and I know Death Singer's going to love to hear this, but I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy Tactics when that's coming out.
Oh yeah, you see, Final Fantasy Tactics. That personally is one of the best Final Fantasy.
I think that's going to be a blast, and whether you pick that up, I might double dip on that. I might pick that up on PlayStation and on Steam, because that's a game that I'll be playing on the Steam Deck or the Portal. That's just phenomenal.
My three favorite turn-based games are
What do you got,
Divinity
Willie?
Original Sin, Divinity Original Sin, Baldur's Gate 3, and Clair Obscur.
Okay.
Nice.
So here's so Nib, this might make your head explode. Glinzer says, who wins best music, Claire or Death Stranding 2?
I
don't want to say yet. I don't want to say it, but I think Clair Obscur for me right now. But it's like comparing two things that are like the top of their game, because again, like the music so far in Death Stranding 2 has pretty much been perfect. But the thing is, the music in Clair Obscur was pretty much perfect. So I've never actually had this much difficulty deciding between two things.
Yeah, Glinzer, I got to say, Glinzer, that's almost a question we'd have to answer in a week or two.
The thing between, like, why I gave Clair Obscur the win over Death Stranding 2 in terms of the music, and it's not easy, because both are pretty much neck and neck for different reasons. Like, for example, the music in Death Stranding 2 moves me emotionally far more than Clair Obscur's music. The rise and fall, the way that it kind of integrates with the gameplay as well, and it's incredible. And I prefer listening to the music in Death Stranding 2 from an emotive standpoint, but the sheer impressiveness of the orchestral rendering of the music in Clair Obscur, how every song is different, and the music is just so impressively gorgeous. Like, I had to give that the win. So again, I can appreciate the impressive artistry, as well as the emotive, how we receive it. And how I receive Death Stranding 2's music is greater than how I receive the music in Clair Obscur. But from purely an artistry standpoint, I've got to give the dub to Clair Obscur there. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense there?
It makes a lot of sense.
I'm trying to make it make sense in a way that doesn't sound like I'm just waffling, but yeah, like, but honestly, Mooch, like, the music just gets better and better. There's two songs that I've been listening to almost on repeat all day from Death Stranding 2. There's one called Nightmares by Churches. They actually were in the first game. They did a song called Death Stranding in the first game.
Yep.
Which was pretty good, but this song Nightmares is just insane. It's so good. And there's another one by Woodkid, which features a woman singing, and it's kind of like dead haunting and beautiful and emotional, and all the notes are just like, it hits high.
Is the soundtrack, Willie, is the soundtrack available on Apple Music or Spotify?
I know YouTube. I don't know whether it's available on. It's available on YouTube. I don't know if it's available elsewhere. I'm guessing it is.
I haven't checked yet myself.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I really don't want to listen to the sound. This is me. I don't want to listen to the soundtrack till I play the game, because I feel like the music. Like the other night when I was playing, I was like, "Oh my god, that music!" When I was going into I don't know if it was the second or third destination on that first mission you get from Fragile, the second or third spot, and you're going into it, and that music kicked in, and I'm like, there it is. Like, there it is. I'm like, man, it hits, and it's so. It's so effing good, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, how did he nail this again? So I want to experience those songs as I roll into each situation, and then I'll enjoy the soundtrack like I did in the first one. Cobra Kai says, Expedition 33 got people like me that don't like turn-based games to try it, and I ended up loving it. I haven't played many turn-based games, but Chained Echoes has an insane soundtrack and goes hard.
I love Chained Echoes, dude. It was one of my favorite games of the year it came out. Phenomenal.
That is fantastic.
And just the mech stuff as well. I will say, back to Death Stranding 2, the sandstorms or whatever.
Yes.
I will say, I don't think any game has encapsulated the feeling of being in that.
even close to as good as Death Stranding 2. It's just, I don't know, the way, like, you know, the feedback of the controller with the dual sense, the triggers, and then the fact that if you like kind of say you come out from you know, there's a wall beside you and you come out from outside the wall or a bus or something, the way that when the wind comes and it knocks you over and you have to balance your weight. I don't know, it's something about just the feel of it feels so impactful, and I like, it's almost like I'm bracing on my sofa while I'm playing it. It was so weird. Like I felt like the immersion factor was off the chain.
You almost started leaning on your sofa left and right with yeah.
There's also
it's crazy.
The song called Story of Rainy. Oh my days, guys. I uploaded a cutscene of Rainy's story in the game. The soundtrack that goes with it, it's just like, you know, Nib, that scene at the end of Doom 2 where she's getting ready where she leaves and she's getting ready to ride on the giant worm. It sounds so wrong. On the giant soundworm.
In the little cage
the
things.
The music ramps up, and you always want to cry when the credits roll, right?
Oh my God,
well, Story of Rainy, the music is like that. Please, guys, like by Woodkid, it's just insane. Like there are so many songs in Death Stranding 2, and it's just like, oh mate, I get emotional.
Yeah, June 2, that soundtrack. Oh my God, when I pump it on my speakers like properly loud, and you know all the textures and the guttural kind of. It fucking blows you away, dude. And the thing is, I was sorry, going back to June 2, I watched it at the cinema, right? And then my brother-in-law, he comes up and he's like, "Oh, I got tickets at IMAX in Waterloo in London, right? That's like proper IMAX, not IMAX." And he's like, "I got tickets to see June 2. Do you want to come?" I'm like, "Come on, like, I'll sail all the way to another country if I got to see that film in IMAX." Because I literally couldn't get tickets to IMAX, right? And somehow he has them. So he says, "Yeah, come on, let's go." And I went to see it in IMAX, and oh my Lord, the experience was a different thing. You know, when they say like IMAX is a different experience, it really is, because even when the music played, my head is la 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 la, you know, like I could feel the reverberations in my heart and through my arms and stuff.
Yeah,
it was just
insane.
The
music in Doom 2 is just
so, you know,
insane.
It's interesting. Moonshot here in the chat, he says, "I'm not sure how there is such definitive answers regarding Death Stranding 2 from all aspects of the game, and I bet none of you are a third of the way through." I honestly, so Moonshot, I think you've heard everybody. Sometimes people have selective hearing, and if I misinterpreted Wooly or Nib, let me know. But to be honest with you, Moonshot, they all, I think when it came to the music, I think they went with Expedition 33. So I don't think anyone's.
I went with 33.
Well, so did Wooly. So I don't think that Moonshot. I don't think anyone said they're just giving you opinions from where they are in the game, and you just heard Wooly say
there is a gross deficiency of intellectual capacity in the gaming demographic of fanboyism, right? Like, I'm sorry, bro, to insult your intellect here, but we couldn't have been more clear that this was just our subjective takes of what the music that we've listened to and how it compares. And we both were very honest and open, like that Claire Obscure's soundtrack takes the win, takes the W, but we can still appreciate other soundtracks. Like Nib's just waxed lyrical about Doom 2's soundtrack, which I agree it's an absolute masterpiece that can hardly ever be matched in cinema. Like it's just insane. Well, Death Stranding 2's going for a similar vibe with some of the songs, like the song "Story of Rainy," and you know, "Are You There" by Woodkid. There's some insane songs that are just Any Love of Any Kind as well. Is just featuring Bryce Dessner, I think her name is. Like, there are so many good songs in this album that I would just encourage everybody to listen to.
And the other thing is, well, let's not be intellectually dishonest. Like, if in the first several hours or 20 hours or 30 hours or whatever, the consistency of music has been at a certain level, you don't really expect it to just suddenly drop off a cliff.
Right.
Like, it would be very odd or peculiar if suddenly Kojima, despite picking all these incredible songs throughout the whole game, he just thought, you know what? Now I'm just going to pick shitty.
Yeah, the last 5 acts. You know what? Never mind. Just someone play the harmonica. Yeah, we'll be fine. That's it.
Music and,
exactly.
dark music. We're gonna go for that now.
So,
it's like this is an artist. Like, you get a feeling for the vibe of the music that's come.
That's a very good. That's a very good point. I think sometimes people think that. And like I said, we're just kind of giving our opinions, as Wooly just said. So I will say this, and I know Nib's going to say just one more thing. But we are hitting the 3.5 hour mark here, and I do want to say thanks to everybody. I saw Mary Wilcox was just heading off. She's like, I've got to get some dinner, gents. Mary, thanks for being here. I want to thank this amazing panel, the people that came earlier, that had to leave earlier. Nib, I know you would love to go another 3 hours. I would as well if work wasn't tomorrow. But I would like to. I'm going to get into day trading like you, so I can start doing these late evenings even longer, which would be fantastic. But shout out to all of you guys that are here. You guys make this real special. I had a couple people in the chat tonight say, "Hey, Mooch, I was listening to the show years ago. I came back, saw you were live, and I'll be back, man. This is great. I'm enjoying the show. So thanks to everybody that's here tonight. I appreciate it. Please hit the like button. Still, after 3.5 hours, 235 people. If all 235 of you just hit the like button right now, unbelievable things. Skyrocketing happens as far as the Mooch's channel. I really appreciate it. It gets the word out there even more than anything else we could do. Thanks, guys, for the super chats. I'll go in reverse order here and say, Death Singer, thank you very much. As always, great sport, and I love listening to everything. I love your opinions, Death Singer. I really do. I literally show up every Friday for Death Singer's take on gaming. I hope you guys do. Death Singer, let people know where they can find you. Thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, I love it, Mooch, because see, like my gaming history is really, really interesting. It's like
it is.
You go through you go through waves and whatnot. It's like being a Sega kid, and then you're a Sega kid, then you get the PlayStation 1, and then you're fighting in the playground over which was better, the PS1 or the N64. That was a whole thing. And I was on Team PlayStation, and then PlayStation 2, and then Xbox came out, and then they showed me Halo and Morrowind, and I took off from there, and then I made my way. It's just like I went through tons of genres, and it's like now I'm in this place where I don't really mess with shooters like that anymore. I don't really mess with racing games like that anymore. I don't really mess with MMOs. Like, it's and now I just vibe with different things. So it's a whole thing. And shout out to the chat. I mean, we had a good back and forth, and they came around when they realized, Chrono Trigger is my number one turn-based, and it's in my top 5 games of all time. And
you dodged the bullet tonight, though, mate. You have dodged a bullet tonight, because I was ready to absolutely lay it on thick with your terrible take about exclusivity, like being anti-consumer.
Yeah,
we can discuss that another time.
Yeah, that's
it was rewarding seeing King Thrash rip you a new one, though. I did enjoy that.
I mean, to be fair though to King Thrash, he also thought PSSR doesn't help with frames, so we need to put that on the back burner real quick.
We also thought what PSSR had what?
PSSR didn't help with frame rate. So, we gotta hold our horses.
I don't know about King Thrash. All I know is that one of my mates, he said your tweet has 12 likes and 55,000 views.
The thing is, though, I wouldn't entertain it anyway, even if it was brought up. I wouldn't entertain it because that would take up like most of the show.
I was going to say that's a show within a show. Yeah. That's a whole show.
Especially since Death Stranding 2 released.
It would be like PC handhelds playing PC games is suddenly like based on semantics. Xbox playing PlayStation.
No,
games.
there it is. Now, Wooly, there you go. Wooly, you're pulling that's a nib. Yeah. That's a nib move. Nib's usually like one more thing, and it's a bomb that goes off.
I have to hold it back all evening when I'm on the panel with Death Singer, because he's like this big red target, and I have my darts ready.
Wooly,
Wooly,
don't you?
You know one thing. One thing I'll credit. One thing I will credit him on, right? And I like this
He
about.
takes it in good spirit. He takes it in good spirit.
Yeah, not just that. Maybe he doesn't like the PlayStation centric style of games, but he is consistent in the kind of games he does and has always liked.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like he likes bad games. And the thing like I really dislike about fanboys is not so much like what you like, what you don't. It's contradiction and inconsistency. Right.
It's inconsistency.
Yeah, with me, I've actually changed platform allegiances a few times. Although people might not think it, they might think I'm diehard PlayStation through and through. But I actually used to be PC main. 360 was my favorite console at the time until the tail end of the PS3 gen. Then I kind of switched again. But what I will say is like you see some like kind of Xbox guys, even PlayStation guys, they will like shit on Hellblade when it's PS4. And say, oh, it's a movie, it's not a game. Then when Hellblade 2 comes out, they're the ones defending it. Like, to me, that is the kind of person who I don't want to hear your takes.
You can't ever have a real discussion.
Exactly.
Everything's in bad taste.
Basically, the platform is guiding your views, not the game. Whereas at least Death Singer, he always likes like WRPGs. He's always liked it, right? And even me, even when I mained PC, if you look at the kind of games that I used to love the most, they were kind of more in the narrative cinematic sphere, or like had more of an atmospheric kind of vibe. In, for example, like Half-Life, right? Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 are two of my all-time favorite games. And I remember even in the first Half-Life, when that experiment goes off and all the aliens are like dragging people through the air vents and everything, like it's actually quite a really cinematic game. Even like the opening of number 2 in the train station and you're going through City 17, it's a slow pace. There's quite a lot of like immersion and exposition. And then even back in Final Fantasy VII, those kind of games, I've always liked that kind of style of game. So it's only natural that my preference today would be PlayStation because they are the lead in that type of game, right? So there's a consistency. Even though I play all types
I don't know, mate. Give Death Singer a 10-year-old space isometric RTS, and he'll shit on any modern AAA masterpiece.
Well, no, not at all. It's like
no, he won't. Not any PlayStation logos attached to them. But that's okay. We can discuss that another time, bro.
It must be an English thing. I don't know how the heck always. During the outros, Nib will be like, Mooch, just one innocent question. 2 hours later,
Nib is Columbo. He is always that. Oh, and one more thing.
Wooly.
He definitely is. The thing is, AOE 2 is 20 years old and it's still one of the best RPSs of all time.
Yeah, I knew it.
Nib,
at least you are consistent. Credit to Nib. Credit to you, bro.
Wait.
You are consistent.
One last thing. Can I actually do one last thing? And it is just because I really want to know about your tastes, right? Like on this panel, I've never actually asked this. What are your top 5 games of all time?
Oh God, Nib, Nib.
Hang on, no, it's easy. I'll just
that's literally 45 minutes.
No, it's not. It's FF7 OG, FF7 OG, Chrono Trigger, Halo 2, and then I have to throw in
Halo 2. Did you say
Halo 2? Yep. Halo 2, Chrono Trigger, FF7 OG, then I gotta put KOTOR in there, and then I would have to throw in I'd have to throw in, what would I throw in? Number 5 would have to be probably Mass Effect 2.
So notice how you are miserable, because you, as a typical PC gamer, there is not a modern game that you would rate in your top 5.
Nothing can compare to the experience of these
20
games.
years old. Every game is like 20, 15 years old there.
Yeah, but
he's an old soul, Wooly.
I understand your culture, bro. I understand your culture. But you would not enjoy any of the majority of those games. You would not enjoy, apart from Mass Effect, probably.
No, the thing is, it's like all those games. Stellar masterpieces when games today don't do even what they did, half of what they did. Like,
Hello,
look at a lot
Death
of
Stranding 2. Hello, Claire Obscure.
yeah, but also look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, and let's look at
Why
other
you?
games.
Obviously, Assassin's Creed Shadows garbage, but we're talking about Claire Obscure and Death Stranding 2, bro. Not
Yeah, but
Assassin's Creed Shadows.
but then again, I can't as much as I love Expedition 33, I can't put it over any of those 5 games because those games did something special, and they will always be special games. Like nothing will top Chrono Trigger's story for me. Like what Chrono Trigger did was just a masterpiece, chef's kiss.
I'm both happy for you, and I wouldn't want to be you because you are missing out on absolute quality here, Tom.
I got on then, Wooly. What's your top 5?
My top 5. All right. You ready? Metal Gear Solid 3. Death Stranding. Yet to see if Death Stranding 2 will take the cake.
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Okay.
I loved probably Fahrenheit actually.
Oh, okay, nice. I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
Yeah, Fahrenheit is right up there, bro. Fahrenheit.
Dude, Kojima, no wonder you love that guy.
Yeah, and the last one, bro. Oh mate, that's there's so many good ones. Flipping heck. Do I pick a modern one, or do I pick an old but gold? Mate, I can't. Mate, I can't choose the last one. I can't do it. That's too hard.
Too hard.
Because I'm torn, bro. I'm torn.
What are you saying?
What's that?
What's your top?
All right, I not in any particular order, but just rolling them off because I didn't know I was going to get this.
We want to know.
BioShock.
Amazing.
I love it. Probably The Last of Us. I'm going to throw Final Fantasy 2 in there again just because, like I said, I can't say I love it and then I don't love it and let nostalgia burn me. Jeez, I mean, I could get like Wooly just said, I can get nostalgic and get real old on you, but you guys will say it wouldn't stand the. I want to say. What's that?
Just go for it. It doesn't matter if it's old or not. It's what you personally believe.
It's true, but a lot of it's nostalgia, not because I've played it recently. But Castlevania. I know you're gonna laugh at that, but I love that game.
No, Castlevania is good. Castlevania is good.
And then trying to do, like Wooly said, I'm gonna do one that's just more recent. That I've really put up there as far as a pedestal.
All right, my fourth one. Go
ahead, you go while I think about this.
My fifth one's Uncharted 4.
Oh wow!
Okay, nice.
Okay.
All
right.
So
Uncharted 4 is special to me.
I'm going to cheat, by the way, in my list, but it is what it is. Sue me. So number 1, Final Fantasy 7, OG, obviously. Number 2, Last of Us 2, but I'll put in Last of Us 1 as well because I love them both.
Yes.
Number 3 is Half-Life 2, but with Counter-Strike. In the UK, you can only buy it combined. I have literally thousands of hours in Counter-Strike, and Half-Life 2 is one of my favorite FPS of all time. So I want to combine the two. Then I would say Breath of the Wild, another modern game. And then number 5, I can't decide between Ocarina of Time, Uncharted 2, and Resident Evil 4. One of those.
Resident Evil 4 was in my mind. I had the original Resident Evil 4 like right up there, bro. It was hard not to say it. But yeah, I had to go with Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
I think Resident Evil 4 would be the pick. Yeah, Resident Evil 4 was phenomenal.
Phenomenal, yeah.
It really is.
But the thing with like Uncharted 2, like I've actually beaten that game probably about 12 times. It's insane. I've actually beaten
Uncharted 2 for me was once you saw the enemies, the kind of the supernatural enemies that you were fighting. It kind of I found the pacing kind of dropped a bit, like the snowy area where you meet the villagers in the village.
Love that. I love that. Snowy areas in games are my favorite. So it was like
but for me, I was starting to switch off after that. That point. With Uncharted 4, it just had me from.
Yeah. I played Uncharted 4 so many times as well. I think
my heart like in a clutch moment from beginning to end. The bit where you crash land on the island took my breath away. Where you wake up in the rain and like that. Still to this day, is one of the most monumental moments for me in gaming. Like it blew my mind.
It is almost there for me, but the thing that put it back was a bit too much climbing, too much of the game. And I heard Neil Druckmann say that initially they wanted a stamina system where there was like risk reward with climbing, and they didn't have time to implement it. But I feel like when you play it, you can see that that's why it had more climbing, because they wanted more mechanics behind it. But that's the only thing holding it back. But I do agree, as far as like pirate stories go in games, I think it's the best there's ever been. And again, I'd say it's someone who's phenomenal.
But notice how we've got modern games, which with old games, we're not just resting on our laurels and miserable like.
That's the part.
It's not even
not wishing what used to be. We're not wishing for what used to be. We're
no. It's not. No, at the time,
Stellaris for the 1,000th hour.
Well, the thing is, it's like at the time these games mean that much to me, and they haven't been topped yet. I haven't come across a story that hit me as hard as Chrono Trigger, or I felt it. Like, what do you want me to say?
I'm just busting your balls, bro. I think you had a great collection of games there.
One that nobody ever says that's interesting too, that I'll just throw out there, and then we'll wrap up the show, is it's a game I think about games that I played over and over again. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily always my favorite, but they're the games that resonate with me, and then they have a long-lasting. I was gonna say, I'm going back in time a bit here, but I'll bring it to future tense. Is Max Payne? I think that was one game that I loved so much.
Oh man,
like that dark
that Matrix PC mod, bro. That Matrix PC mod changed my life.
Yeah,
even unmodded was phenomenal.
What's that? Say it again, Nib.
I said even unmodded, just phenomenal.
Oh I played it on the original, like definitely unmodded. And the other thing I'll say, so Max Payne. When I say that, I do mean the original. But I will say Max Payne 3. I don't know if that game ever gets enough credit. I love that game. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me.
The game is, bro. It's next level. The physicality in that game.
So it's
God of War 2 for me. God of War 2 was that game that I replayed over and over. God of War 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3, like those games, I would just play like 90. I think I've beat Metal Gear Solid 3 about, I would probably guess about 40 times I've completed it. And God of War, God of War 2 I played probably about 20 times over.
I would like for the record to let Nib know for his question, and I think I can't remember who asked the other question. I think it was Wooly. It was 10:15 Eastern. It is now 10:36 Eastern, and Nib I think even said this will take 5 minutes. That there's no such thing as 5 minutes with these with my good friends over in England over here. These guys, all we're missing is a few pints, and I think we could take this right to the AM, 6 a.m.
You need to get a nice bevy at the pub.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone had to think of this. I didn't have to for mine because it'll always be set in stone.
Death Singer is. Let me tell you something. Death Singer is very prepared to podcast at all times.
It's just those 5 will always just be that 5. I don't see a game.
That's the 5.
Death Singer, if ever you're in Manchester, bro, come say hi. I'll buy you a pint and I'll introduce you to an actual real life woman.
Oh, jeez, there it is. We gotta, all right. Now we're going hit after hit after hit. Okay, WoolleyGamer, let people know where they can find you, buddy. I've got to eat something and go to work.
I know. No, but on a real note, I've loved tonight, and thanks for
it was great
for having me, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, lads. You can find me on Twitter, WoolleyGamer YT for YouTube. I appreciate all of you, including you, Death Singer, bro. I do appreciate you.
I think a friendship has been made over the past 3 weeks. I'm very happy with this. And keep on keeping on, or in Death Singer's case, goon on gooning on. Oh, jeez, that's wonderful. Just wonderful.
Shout out to Stellarblade.
Shout out to Stellarblade is right. Nib, let everybody know where they can find you, buddy. And no questions.
No questions. No questions.
No questions.
But Death Singer, Eve doesn't count as a girlfriend, just so you know.
Oh,
Okay?
Hey, man, to be fair, my right and left hand do too, so who knows? Anyway, moving on. Let's go.
I've met this new bird called Eve. She's really into me.
This new bird.
She's stellar. Let me tell you.
And she knows how to wield the blade.
She loves climbing ladders. She just spends a whole time climbing up and down.
And she spends all her time in photo mode.
But anyway, sorry. Anyway, it's just on X, NIB95_, Nib95_.
Great to have you, Nib, as always. Death Singer, did you promote yourself yet? I can't remember between the 16 questions we just did.
I can't remember either. I just say I did. Yo, it's me. You know me. I'm every.
Yeah, if you don't know where to find Death Singer, he'll be here next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 12 a.m.
Just look for the next bad trending tape. Look for the next bad trending tape that's been ratioed to oblivion. It will most likely be Death Singer.
Shout out to the gaming grindhouse, Jez7780, who's still listening. Appreciate you, Jez. Shout out to the great Brap who couldn't make it tonight. It's Brap_podcast. Crap had to leave early too. The_Crap Gamer. Guys, go over and give those guys follows. Love them all over the place, all over social media. These guys are here for your entertainment. We're here for your entertainment. Hit the like button on the way out.
Wait, no, I need to respond. This guy said max attest, like anybody of these sad men have had anything better than a 3 out of 10.
Oh,
bro, if you see
oh, jeez.
My wife, you wouldn't say that, right? Trust me, I've been with people that you guys is out of your league, so don't say that.
Yeah, you are projecting.
Don't,
Luca.
Nib, don't feed the trolls. Guys, that's rule number one in podcasting.
Over here in the UK.
That's right, men of culture. Thank you, Mr. B. I appreciate that. Guys, we'll see you next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Peace, be good. Go play some Death Stranding too. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. Good night.
Peace.